Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? I'm here. I seem to be here. The question is, are you? It's been a couple weeks. Yeah, I didn't stream last Wednesday because the last Wednesday of the month, usually we have our production meeting with The Line. So I did that last week where we pounded out our schedule for July. And now it's July. And I was like, I don't know, I maybe not be able to stream today because there's some insane construction something or other. I don't really understand what it is, but there's some kind of insanely loud noise happening, and it's stopped for now. I don't know if maybe they're just taking a break and they'll come back later, but anyway, it's been a crazy time. Yo, I like the fact that I haven't seen you guys in a couple weeks because it means that I actually have things to talk about. One thing about streaming twice a week, especially because I'm not doing like I'm not a gaming streamer or whatever. If we just chat, it's hard for me to have a lot of adventures or do a lot of stuff in between Sunday and Wednesday, which is my typical stream schedule. So this is kind of nice in the sense that it's been 2 weeks and thereby I have a lot to talk about. There's been some stuff going on. Let's start a poll. Just want to make sure that y'all are hitting like and sharing, because it's helpful for you to do that. I did both because I'm the best. There you go. I put a poll in the chat just to remind people as they come in to hit the like button. Guys, if you click share and then copy the link, that, as far as YouTube is concerned, counts as algorithm interaction. So, yeah, I'm curious if I'm going to get punished somewhat by the YouTube algorithm for having not streamed in 2 weeks and also haven't really been uploading videos consistently. So yeah, listen, we're having a time. I am, since the last time I saw you, now a full-time student. So that's a big thing that I've been dealing with lately. Let's pull up all my chats. Let's make sure I can see all my chats. Whoa, hold on. Let me say hi to everybody. Oh, Teensy, I don't know if that was today or if that was previously, but thank you for the $5 dono, whoever that was, whenever that was. I don't know when that was. Anyway, let me say hi to everybody and let me get my stream set up all figured out. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, hello. What's up, Blake? Hello, Bloody Hatter. What's up, John Bainbridge? Nikki, hello. Someone said that was their first Lux stream. Magus, Magis, Magi's. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but what's up? Welcome in. We got Silly Joss as well on the YouTube chat. So hello to the YouTube chat. If you're interested in this chat over here, this is my website chat. And Mama Mephi is in here, and Jazz Dog is in here, and Viren and Kitty Tick are in here. Hello, babes. Hi. I feel like people are excited to see you, so regulars coming in will boost the algorithm. That's true. But to some extent, YouTube does show the thing to people, even people who are already subscribed. I think it's like, if you're already subscribed, that doesn't necessarily mean that YouTube will show you. In fact, this has been a huge deal previously in YouTube's history where people were pissed, like, hey, I'm subscribed to this channel and you're hiding it from me. And I think other platforms kind of run into the same deal, right? There's pages on Facebook that it's like, I'm consistently being shown, some creator. Consistently that person is showing up, and then you follow them, and then they fucking disappear off of your timeline. You're like, okay, what was the point of following this person? You showed it to me 8 million times, and I said, yes, I want to see that, please. And then as soon as I followed, you took it out of my timeline. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you, actually? So these algorithms are really stupid, and unfortunately, like, they do punish inconsistency. So it's going to be interesting. Yeah, like, there's 24 people in here. I think typically when I'm streaming super regularly, the number when I first start streaming, and it might be because I didn't warn you guys in the Discord. I was unsure if I was going to be able to even stream today, like I said, because of whatever construction noise is happening outside. So I didn't do the, hey, we're streaming in 1 hour thing. So anyway, I'm not complaining. These are just facts. Twitch started removing my follows like YouTube used to. Yikes. Yeah. That's rough. I need to get a side cut. It was like 93 today in Denver. Yeah. Definitely, I keep my hair short on the sides partially because of the heat problem. It's not so hot here, but, you know. Does it help to engage with the live emojis on the side of the chat? I think so. I think basically anytime you touch the screen in any capacity, unless you're clicking away from the video, I think YouTube counts that as like, yo, you did it. Success. Congratulations. So Twitch has entirely stopped sending me notifications, and I don't know if that's something I did or just a computer noticing something. Maybe. I don't know. If it's through your browser, then you might check your browser settings and make sure that you didn't accidentally turn off notifs. That's a fun thing that YouTube has as well. With y'all who have the YouTube app on your phone, which is probably most of you, there's like different settings. So if you were to go on my channel right now, if you were to click down below and click the subscribe thing, and then that has the bell drop down menu, and then you click like all notifications. Let's say you want all Luxander Moss notifications, but if in your YouTube app you have the notification settings turned off or on some other configuration, then your device level settings will prevent there from being a notif. So you guys have to actually like double, triple check your settings if you want to make sure you're getting notifs. Anyway, it's pretty obnoxious. Twitch just doesn't send notifs through the app anymore. Yo. 93 in Denver is crazy. Yeah, I know some folks who just moved to France, and like France is so much more politically advanced and everything, but part of the reason why I completely did not include Europe in my considerations for where I would move is because one of the big things I'm looking at longer term is the climate stuff. And so this person I know whose family just moved to France, they're like, yeah, it was like, it's been like over 100 or it's like 115 degrees sometimes Fahrenheit. And I'm like, holy shit, dude, I made a good decision there because, yeah, the heat, weirdly, even though they're further north, the heat there is more intense because of just all the other atmospheric and like weather features of that part of the world. So it is interesting, though, seeing this person I know posting like, yeah, it's like 11 p.m. at night and it's still twilight outside. And this is the time of day that everybody pulls out the tables into the lane and they sit out and socialize at nighttime because it's too fucking hot during the day. Oh, geez. Faulty just went from 28 inches of a full head of hair to no guard buzz last week and quite happy with it. Yo, that's a big change. I bet your neck feels crazy right now because 28 inches of hair is a lot of hair. That is a lot of hair. Grading lab reports while listening. Man, it sucks we aren't paid during grading hours. Dude, being a teacher is such a fucking wash. Like, it's such a scam in some ways. I am in several classes. It's tricky to figure out how much detail to give because I'm like, how much of this could an insane person dig through a college website to find? But I've noticed that with stuff that I'm doing online, a lot of that stuff is, unless it's like a writing assignment, and I do have writing assignments, but unless it's a writing assignment where the teacher actually has to really sit there and read it, a lot of this stuff is just like, the quiz is in Canvas. It's just in there, and you answer the questions, and then it automatically populates your grade. Boom. That must make it so much easier to teach, because then you're primarily, you know, your primary job is the direct active teaching component, and that part you get paid for versus, you know, all the other time. And people, you know, it's like a big thing about why we don't actually value school teachers. Look at this. We are swerving into politics already. Check this out. So, you know, teachers are underpaid in general, but then if you also count in the fact that they work so many hours outside of the class time hours, and that they do all these extra things like sponsoring a club or coaching or, you know, chaperoning at events or something, like it just seems like a very it's like an industry that you have to be careful not to be exploited in, it seems. But I hope that you're enjoying your time, Virant. It's so cool and interesting. I'm taking functions right now, pre-calc functions, and so to have Virant in the community who's like teaching a physics class right now, like teaching a math class, and then I'm in a math class. So it's cool to see both sides of that dynamic and have some insight into like what do teachers think and how do teachers approach these things. But Bloody Hatter, congratulations. Had my GAC appointment, blood work, and got cleared for hormones. Should get my script by the end of the week. Been buzzing with excitement. That's incredible. I'm so excited for you. So very, very, very excited. Congratulations. I've been coming to terms with the fact that I may want HRT the past week after ignoring it for 6 years. Listen, here's one thing I gotta tell you is you don't have to commit to staying on it forever. You are allowed to, and it is medically safe for most people to try it and see how it goes. So if you're feeling this like big, like, ooh, this is a huge hurdle I have to cross because I have to commit to staying on it or whatever, just disabuse yourself of that notion, because you can start hormones and then you'll usually know within like a couple weeks if it's the right thing for you. Lots of people report that like, their depression symptoms kind of went away very quickly. Some of that might be placebo, but just to be clear, if you're on HRT for 8 weeks, so you spend 2 months, you're probably not going to receive any changes during that time that are going to be like impossible to come back from. And that is probably enough time, unless you're on like a tiny baby dose that is imperceptible to your body in some way. But I'd say 2 months is a good time for you to, get into it. It's financially unwise for me to try in the next few years, but that's great to learn. Oh, is it because of you would lose parental support? Because honestly, hormones are not that expensive. Like even when I was paying cash price for testosterone, it was not that expensive. But your mileage may vary. And like I say testosterone because testosterone is way fucking more expensive and regulated than estrogen is. I guess I don't know about the injectable forms of estrogen, but I do know that like estrogen pills, given the common availability of estrogen-based birth control, is not very expensive. But yeah, if you're like, this could compromise my job or this could compromise my position with my parents who are paying for my school right now, then, that's understandable. But I'm just saying, don't feel like it's a giant thing that you need to get over. Mama says the infinite scroll feeds mean the social media platform has control over almost everything you see. The fact that we have to fight to be shown to people who clicked the I like this person and want to see their content button is really fucking annoying. Yep, truly. Math classes. I heard the woke SJWs at the indoctrination universities are using Arabic numerals now. What's really funny is that I'm in a math class and I actually just learned that they're usually nowadays called the Hindu Arabic numerals because it was popularized by someone in like the Middle East, but it was actually invented, the number system that we use was actually invented in India. So Hindu Arabic numeral system. Quite interesting. Kukiki has confirmed that 2 months is the usual for young adults we see at the Queer Support Center here for when they realize if they want to stay on HRT or not. Yeah, I feel like 2 months of doing something daily or doing something weekly is plenty enough time for you to ascertain whether that is something that you want to stick with longer term for that. It would be T. I am unemployed and living with my very supportive mom, and we're struggling, but I think I'll be bringing it up to her soon. Yeah, and listen, there's plenty of people out there who are like, hey, if your hormones are only costing you like, let's even shoot for the moon a little bit and say $30 a month. Well, okay, when I was getting testosterone in 1 month increments, it was $35 a month. Give or take a little bit for your supplies. Let's just round it up to 40. There's plenty of people out there who are like, oh, you need $40 in order to have your hormones? yeah, I'm gonna give you that $40. So, don't think of it as like you're on an island completely alone and it's just you and your mom. $40 is not a lot of money, and there are lots of trans people who um either they also are broke but they will still pitch in $5, or there are some trans people or trans allies who have more money and they're like, I don't want to see this person have to struggle not getting the medical care that they need. So, not just you. Um Good night, Faulty. Thanks for jumping in for a little bit. I appreciate you, and I hope you have a great date night. Ooh, girl, date night. Yes. So, sorry, that was a faggot girl. You're using he, they pronouns. So, dude, I hope you have a good date night. I don't know. Sorry, I just became a gay person a lot. That happens sometimes. But anyway, so normally we have couples therapy on Wednesdays, but my partner is, or not my partner, Jesus, my therapist is out for a few weeks. She's doing some family stuff for the month of July. And so consequently, we don't have therapy, but we had the idea, or my partner kind of mostly had the idea of like, let's plan some ways to spend time together and continue building like a shared sense of investment in the relationship. And then my therapist was like, what about on Wednesdays? Like, we made some weekend plans, but then she was like, what about this time on Wednesdays that you normally spend this hour together? So tonight we're going to clean up our living room area. There's so much hair on here. I could legitimately just sit here for probably an hour and just pull little tiny hairs off of my microphone, my pop filter on the microphone. What up, Lawrence? What it do? What it do? I was so mad as a math fan to find out the Greeks were not first to do a lot of the things I had been taught they were. Doesn't that feel like it fits into a general whitewashing of history type deal where Greeks, I mean, obviously like people from the Mediterranean have like brown, sometimes like brownish or like that olive skin tone or whatever. I've seen people who are of heavy Italian or Greek lineage that in my American context, I see that person and go like, oh, that seems like a Hispanic person who's just kind of light skinned. But I do think the idea that like Greeks or Romans were like the acceptable group to like our lineage is from Rome, but Romans were brown. Like not like heavily brown, but they were brown. Like I don't know. So I just think it's quite interesting that so many things are like attributed to the ancient Greeks, but it's like no, they were in a trade network with the Middle East and it came from the Middle East actually. Clean up your room, finally following Jordan Peterson's advice, I see. True. Yeah. It is. Unfortunately, the one piece of it's like a stopped clock is a stopped clock is right twice a day. It's like Jordan Peterson was right. You should clean up your room. You should. You'll feel better about yourself. Excuse me. What's up, Pip? Hello. One of my favorites is that Pythagoras likely was not the one to discover the Pythagorean theorem. Another is that Euler is responsible for so many math contributions that identities are often named after the first person after Euler to discover or use them. Interesting. Oh, like you couldn't reasonably attribute, you couldn't call, because like in the way that many things in math are named after the person who invented them, like one guy invented so many that you couldn't name all of them after him. That's so interesting. Hella, congratulations. My book has sold overseas. That sounds amazing. I can't talk about it yet, but I had an idea for something that is kind of similar to what you have in terms of it being a book. But I can't talk about it at all, or I think I'm going to cancel all my momentum on it. And even then, I don't have a huge amount of momentum on it because I'm so fucking busy right now. It's been kind of nice. I don't have nearly as much time to dick around on Facebook. I haven't quite fully transitioned out of using it on a daily basis, but I'm kind of like, oh, I legitimately don't have time. So actually, earlier while I was not sure if I was going to be able to stream today or not because of all the noise outside. I sat down and I was like, you know what? I'm going to read my book that I'm supposed to read for my English class. This is Kindred by Octavia Butler, and it's a science fiction novel about a Black woman who keeps getting sent back in time mysteriously. And yeah, it's been really interesting. I only just got into it, so not into it very far. And it's also not like a crazy complicated book, I don't think. But that's kind of cool. Basically, anytime I have downtime, I'm not great at this yet, but more times if I feel myself going, oh, I want to go to Facebook, I'm like, you know what? I am busy. I could actually work on my writing assignment. Like, I could be doing something that matters. You are also going to write about a disabled lesbian fighting God. Yeah, totally. Totally. I need to stop using Facebook too. Entirely too many phobes, and I can't argue with all of them. Yeah, honestly, Lawrence, like, my big thing... For a second, I was like, I want to know what my neighbors think. I'm going to join some Oregon groups and find out, like, you know, what are these people thinking? And it turns out that if they are real people, and we're already exerting a lot of, like, making assumptions and a presumption of, I don't want to say a good faith presumption. I mean, I guess it's a good faith presumption. We're assuming that this is not a bot farm, right? We're just making the assumption that it's not every single one of these hateful people on Facebook is actually just a fake person in a bot farm situation. If we assume that they're all real people, then a large number, or at least a significantly loud number of people in my area are hateful, fucking racist, religiously intolerant, transphobic, homophobic, and woman-hating fucking assholes. Just absolute bigotry from the top down. And I'm kind of choosing to believe at this time that most of those people are fake. They're not real people. And if they are real people, I cannot build a world with those people. Like, those people are not interested. They would kill me. Like, they would prefer that I be dead. Just like the way that they talk about homeless people, and they're like, we need to do something about this, but so they're like, we need to do something about this, but then they also talk shit on the current shelter systems, and like, they're like, oh, there's all this like abuse of the system, or like, you know, these people actually don't want help and everything. Like, they want them to die. They want the homeless people to just go away, and they don't really care how, and that means kill them or enslave them in prisons. So there is nothing I can do for those people. But what I can do, and what I do, haha, I said do, is, like, I think that I actually make a difference on the line, right? I think that I actually change people's minds. People even tell me that they changed their mind because of something I said, or because of something that one of our co-hosts said, and that, you know, feels like a valuable way to spend my time. So if I already have a part of my life that is compartmentalized to be directly about outreach and argumentation, then that absolutely should not be part of what I'm doing in my free time. Like, even I had one earlier today, or yesterday, bleeding into today, where it was one of those like groomer accounts, and by that I mean like an animal groomer, and this person was like kissing the dog, like kissing the top of the dog's head, and I commented on it like, why are you kissing a client's dog on the head? Like, if that was my dog, then I'm going to want to kiss my dog on the head, but you've got your fucking germs all over my dog. So it's like, it's basically like you just walked up and planted a kiss on me directly. Like, there is like no functional difference to me. And I think it's really rude. And I've seen it with vet tech videos. I saw one like recently that was like, if you're ever worried that your dog is waking up from anesthesia alone, and then it's a video of a vet tech like holding a dog that's clearly super groggy and coming out of anesthesia and giving it a bunch of kisses all over its face. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you, actually? Like, it's like, it makes me nervous for any time. I guess it's different with my cat, because my cat is not gonna let a stranger kiss her. But it's like, you know, when I take the cat to the vet and then they have to take her back there, to do something, like take her out of the room. Like, I don't want you to be kissing on my cat. And like, it makes me worried about taking my cat to a groomer. She has long hair and she might need to go to a groomer sometimes. And it just makes me deeply uncomfortable. Like, how am I going to have a conversation with somebody like, hey, you know, like, not to be a fucking asshole or anything, but if you kiss my cat or dog on the head, I'm going to be really pissed off. Like, don't do that, please. Like, why is that a conversation that needs to occur? Why are you putting your mouth on someone else's animal? I really think it's deeply unacceptable in a lot of ways. Like, you can have a positive rapport with that animal without putting your mouth on it. And also, you should be wearing a fucking mask while you're grooming dogs anyway, because otherwise you're going to get a bunch of like shit in your lungs. Like, dog hair and cat hair sticks and doesn't come out, and you're also like creating tiny little pieces of hair that are like basically dust. So that's also not good for you to breathe in. So anyway, I got into it with, I just kind of posted like, why are y'all kissing dogs on the head when that's not your dog? And someone responded by basically telling me that I was a germaphobe with OCD. And I argued with this person back and forth. I'm like, first of all, if you knew fucking anything about anything, you would know how irresponsible it is for you to be applying that language to me outside of a clinical context. That you're pathologizing me for the very reasonable, I don't want to kiss a place on my dog's head where you, random other person, also kissed my dog. Just like I don't go around licking doorknobs. And like, I just really thought that it was super fucking unacceptable. So anyway, yes, this is the same person from the Jimmy Snow podcast. Hi, I'm Luxander. And yeah, I'm guessing you've seen me on Jimmy Snow and The Line, where we do our politics call-in show. And then you may have also seen me on The Line, where I mostly am hosting on the Transatlantic call-in show, where we take those kind of calls about transgender issues. So yeah, that's me. Good to see you. Feel free to hit the like button, even if you're not going to stick here and hang out. This stream is just me talking about what is going on in my life and what I'm thinking about. And we get into politics and everything, but it's really just a free form. Let's hang out and chit chat. And we do talk about some, you know, political issues, but I try not to delve into it too hard anymore on account of how incredibly depressing it is all the time. You know, like, we get good news good news out of one side of the Supreme Court's mouth and bad news out of the other side of the Supreme Court's mouth all in the same week. They defended birthright citizenship, which is a very clear and obvious. I actually don't know if they would have upheld birthright citizenship if it wasn't so explicitly enumerated in our founding documents. But then on the same week, we get them saying, yeah, no, it's completely acceptable for states to violate the 14th Amendment by not giving trans people equal protection under the law in regards to participation in sports. So yeah, it's like, it's just kind of hard to think about. And I am feeling this, like, I can't really change anything on this broader scale. So let me try to change things in a more controllable, immediate fashion. So yeah, I can help the person that I'm talking to on the phone, or the people in the chat who are listening. I can help those people. But other than that, I'm very much feeling, and like, I vote, obviously, and I advocate that people should vote. And, you know, I'll even advocate for certain politicians. That is not, you know, outside the realm of possibility. But for the most part, in my personal life, listen, girl, right now, here's what my day looks like. I get up and I go to class, and then I go to the gym, and then I come home, and I usually have a little bit of downtime, and then I do this or a production for The Line or something. So I just don't have a lot of free brain space and time to be arguing with random fucking people on social media. I don't know how to talk to people on social media without being ableist. Like, I genuinely don't understand how a human brain becomes like that. And I've talked to some crazy people. Listen, you're going to get tired of me saying it, but it is significantly worse, because the kinds of things that COVID does to your brain, it can reduce your empathy. It can reduce your ambiguity tolerance. Like, it can reduce your emotional regulation skills. Road rage incidents are on the rise. Bad driving in general, like car accidents in general, are on the rise. And the deeply entrenched attitudes that people have with regards to their in-group, out-group, that is worse than it was. Like, it doesn't seem like it would be worse if you didn't know anything about how COVID does fuck the brain over. But, and I see a lot of people who are trying to attribute it, like when I say like COVID brain damage, people are like, well, also the fascism. And it's like, yeah, but even being in a heightened state of hyperarousal, by that, I mean like you're really stressed all the time. I don't think it does the kinds of measurable brain damage that we're seeing with like repeat COVID infections. So, yeah, I would just recommend, like, if you want to be able to continue thinking and if you want to continue even being aware that something has changed, because that's part of the brain that can be damaged by COVID, is the part of the brain that even can recognize that things used to be different. So people are on this, like, their brain is degrading, their mental power, their mental acuity is declining, but they are not even aware that there is a change now to what they were like 6 years ago. And you know, other things too, like, did people used to get sick 5 times a year, even if you think it's just a cold? Like, did you used to catch the cold 5 times a year? Or are you like experiencing immune dysfunction? So yeah. COVID is giving Swiss cheese brain. It's terrifying. Yes, truly. Yeah, COVID does seem to be increasing early onset dementia as well. So yeah, for sure. Do you think social media too has impacted all this? I think the main thing that social media has impacted is attention span, but that's like a thing that you train. It's not so much like, I would not necessarily call that a structural brain difference, but it's just about what you train yourself to do, you know? If you train yourself to do basic arithmetic in your head, then you will get better at doing basic arithmetic in your head. I have an alarm on my phone in the morning that requires me, before the alarm will truly turn off, I have to do like a very short, usually like a multiplication and then addition or subtraction problem. And I do that in my head, and it's like, I am getting better at it because I am getting better at it, right? So if you're on social media, it's an endless feed, so it catches you in, and the videos are short, and there's this tendency to, like, if you don't get to your point fast enough, people will just scroll by. So it's about training your attention span. Like, can you really sit there and watch a full 40-minute video? Or can you sit there and read? You know, are you able to sit down and really process information? That's a matter of practice. So I do think that that is something that you could probably train yourself back out of. If you're like, I'm on social media all the time and it's degrading my attention span, that's something that you can fix, in my opinion. My sleepy brain would hate math first thing in the morning. Yeah, but that's part of the point, is to be like, just like trying to get your juices cooking a little bit. Hi, do you think the ruling saying biological male or female but not mentioning gender means anything? I assume referring to the Supreme Court thing. I honestly haven't looked into the whole Supreme Court thing because, again, I don't want to hate life every single moment that I'm awake. I think if we could read into it, like, what I'm assuming happened is that the court said you're allowed to discriminate male and female teams. Like, you're allowed to say that this team is for biological males and this team is for biological females. And the one thing that is spooky to me about that, and is troublesome about, like, them removing the language, gender identity, or gender out of these things, is basically making it so that trans people are not illegally, like, not even not a legally protected category, but that it is not possible for trans people to be a legal category. If there is no such thing as gender, and the gender doesn't need to be recognized by the law, then there is no such thing as discrimination against trans people. And functionally, there is no such thing as trans people legally speaking, which could crack open many different cases where, like, there is no such thing as a hate crime against a trans person. So, yeah, sure, you murdered that trans person, but there's no additional hate crime charge. That's kind of where my ears prick up, or like where my concern is around that. But sometimes I don't know if I'm just doing the worst case scenario analysis or if that's like a perfectly reasonable concern to have. I don't know, dude. Do you have a paper I could read on that? I don't have a specific paper. And there's a specific word for it that I might be able to figure out, because there's like a word for when you cannot tell that something has changed, or like, hold on. Okay, so there is a word that I can give you to look for. So, Emma, I would just be Googling this term. So I'm just going to give you the term. The term is anosognosia. I'm going to pull it up here. Hold on one second. Let me pull this up like this. Okay, cool. Let me make it bigger too. Okay, so this is the term anosognosia, anosognosia, which is a condition where your brain cannot recognize the health conditions that you have. It's common with mental health conditions like schizophrenia and Alzheimer's disease. It makes people likely to avoid or resist treatment for health conditions. So this is like, if you think about how people are like, oh, it's just allergies. Like, okay, so you're not even going to test, you're not even going to check, you're not even going to double check. And when people are like, it's different. Like, obviously, people in America avoid healthcare because it is expensive, like, because we don't know if we're suddenly going to be in crazy amounts of debt. But this is like the condition of like the mental inability to see that something is wrong, and the mental refusal and inability to carry on and get some kind of health care, to like even examine the problem. So, experts describe it as denial of deficit or lack of insight. It's in a family of agnosias, which all happen, all of which are when your brain can't recognize or process what the senses are telling it. So if you were like, I want to learn about how COVID causes this problem, I would basically Google COVID-induced anosognosia, and there probably are studies about it, because, I mean, I don't know why the fuck I've heard about it if there's not some kind of studies on it, unless it's speculative at this time, because it could be that it could be that medical professionals are seeing this kind of behavior, but there hasn't been an examination of that particularly yet. But it does seem to fit into the overall image that we see. And I'm sorry that people hate it that I talk about COVID. I'm sorry, you're all leaving. It's fine. I mean, the damage from my back-to-back deployments gave me Swiss cheese brain, but even I'm better than some of these multi-COVID MAGA truthers I've run into. Better cardio too. True. Yeah, deployment has to be crazy hard, but it does keep you physically fit. I made a friend, you guys. I made a friend, and he's a veteran, so that's kind of neat. I like made friends with a guy at my class, and I'm like, damn, that's like the first person that I've met here that I've had like more than one conversation with, or like more than a couple conversations. So that's one of the cool things about being in class and going out and doing things, is like I have reason to talk to people. And I also have the confidence too, because I was like, hey, I'm going to make a point to talk to you and hang out with you. And he's like, cool. And he seems to like me enough to continue tolerating the fact that I am consistently like, hey, I want to talk to you. Let me tell you about my weekend. Why do people leave because COVID gets discussed? That is a great question. It could be fitting into this anosognosia thing where people are like physically, neurologically no longer capable of reckoning with the harms that they are experiencing, like that they are not able to confront that, neurologically speaking. It could be because people think that I am scaremongering, or that I am I'm just a germaphobe, right? Like, this is kind of the thing we were talking about earlier. I posted on, some animal groomer kissing the client's dog on the head and me being like, that's gross. You shouldn't do that. Why are you doing that? People then responding to that, telling me that I am a pathological germaphobe instead of like, I'm reasonably not wanting to go mouth to mouth with a stranger. So I think that there is some tendency to treat me like a hypochondriac. Like, I'm just upset about nothing. And, oh, the person I'm talking to has had COVID a couple times and they're fine. So why should they worry about it? And, maybe if, from their perspective, they're like, maybe you have some health problem that means you shouldn't get COVID, but you can wear a mask and I am not going to change anything about my behavior. Not recognizing that if you've had COVID, it's likely that you are operating on some kind of immune deficit already, like some kind of immune deficiency. So I think part of it too is like trauma, maybe from lockdowns, feeling like suddenly they're surrounded by a mass death event. That is something that can cause trauma, by the way. If you've ever been through a PTSD assessment, they ask, if you or anybody else have experienced a life-threatening event, like a tornado, like even if everybody was okay, if you had family whose house got damaged during a tornado, like the concern over even someone or even somebody you don't know, like, frankly, I think that many of us are giving ourselves PTSD by observing closely what is happening in Gaza. I was like, I can't keep doing this. I am damaging myself. And there's nothing about, like, I'm just doing self-harm, basically. I can't change what's happening in Gaza. So if something dangerous happens to someone or you witness something dangerous happening, something life-threatening, that can give you PTSD symptoms. So I do think that it's possible that since we all lived through a mass death event where it was like, suddenly people are, passing away or having severe health issues, that could be something that caused a type of trauma. And so, like, when people see me wearing my mask, they are reminded of something they don't want to think about anymore. To them, COVID is over, or COVID is not a big deal. And so there is, I think, some kind of component of that. There was a last thing that I was going to get to. I mean, this is all misinformation as well. The idea that it's okay for you to catch COVID over and over again, like, that's propaganda that you've been fed. That's misinformation. Everything that we know about COVID is that it's bad. Like, if you specifically go and you look up, like, full recovery from COVID, that is seemingly less common than people slowly accumulating permanent damage from COVID. So, it's an unfortunate thing where, like, everybody wanted to go back to normal. Of course, nobody, well, of course, the introverts enjoyed it, but many people didn't like being cooped up at home. They enjoy going out and having a server serve them and bring them food so that they can eat at a restaurant. Or, they like, interpersonal, they like to go to family dinner with their grandparents or whatever. Like, people enjoy those things. And so they didn't like not being able to do them. And so they had a bias toward wanting to do those things again. And as soon as they were told it's okay for you to do those things because it's not a big deal, only some people will die horribly. And you don't need to worry about those people because it's not you. You don't have to worry about it. You can do whatever you want. You're big and strong. You have a strong immune system. So there is like a eugenics element to it as well, where people are like, I'm fit and healthy, so a bad thing couldn't possibly happen to me if I got COVID. Obviously, if a cancer patient got COVID, then that would be a problem. But we're also seeing like less strict adherence to masking requirements in cancer wards now than we were before COVID, which is fucking crazy. Yeah, I don't know. It's a complex issue, and I think that it's just that people have bought into the misinformation because all of the powers that be are kind of pushing this, like, go back to normal, everything's fine, don't worry about it. Meanwhile, the most wealthy people in this country and the most lucrative industries are still observing COVID precautions. Hollywood is still observing COVID precautions to some extent. Obviously, there's some actors who've gotten long COVID, like Tilda Swinton has talked about having new health issues while simultaneously saying that they're tired of all these COVID precautions. And as well for our politicians, like in the White House, they have super heavy duty air filtration systems that have been installed, which we should all have received and didn't. Like, ultimately, that's why the COVID emergency was declared over, was basically because if the COVID emergency had remained in place, there would then have been legal mechanisms that would have kicked in that would have said, well, now it is required for public schools, for example, to update their air filtration systems. And they were like, yeah, but we don't want the government to be responsible for actually having to make those changes. So we're just going to call the emergency over. And we're just going to start calling COVID endemic and pretending like it's not a big deal. Meanwhile, all of your children are slowly, like, dying effectively. Like, children are getting diabetes when they wouldn't have had otherwise. Long COVID impacts children. It's actually, like, I think it climbing closely to, if it is not now the number one chronic health concern for children, long COVID. So yeah, there's plenty of stories of kids who, like, were perfectly active, healthy children who now cannot go to school. I mean, like, cannot reasonably get out of bed for long enough to go to school because they're too tired, or they're in pain, or like their legs, there's like all kinds of like nerve pain in their legs and stuff. Long COVID is currently second highest behind asthma for kids. Yeah, for sure. So, Luxander, but have you considered that wokeness Fauci vaxxed Biden ivermectin? True. You're right. Gaza has been traumatizing, but I feel bad for being traumatized because I'm not the one experiencing it firsthand. Spot dogs, don't feel bad, because that means that you have functional empathy. You are capable of seeing something happen to someone else and going, oh my God, that's horrible. I would hate it if that happened to me. And the fact that it's happening to them is a crime. Like, it's a travesty and it's bad. So I would say don't feel bad feeling like you're traumatized and you don't deserve to be. It means that you are human and you see Gazans as human, which it seems like lots of people don't see brown people as human. Lots of people don't see folks from the Middle East as human. So I would say just count yourself better than a lot of these other assholes. Yes, Mama says, and this is a quote, I think, I don't remember what the quote is from, but like, it is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. You know? So it does feel bad that we can't do anything about Gaza, but like, I was really like paying a ton of attention to it and watching all of this stuff happen live at the time, and then watching the college protests be quashed the way that they were, and the fact that nothing changed, and the fact that like people were being stripped of their degrees that they had already gotten, or that they were being kicked out of their programs, which some of that was like immigrants who came to this country to get an education, and their residency here was dependent on them being a student. For them to get kicked out of their school program because of peaceful protesting and then lose their residency in the United States, like, absolutely fucked up. True, Melatonin Ale, this is a great point. People who say COVID is, quote, just a flu are also pissing me off because the flu kills people every year. A friend of mine who was in great shape in his late 30s passed away from a seasonal flu. Yeah, and the flu kills more people every year now, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that the flu is also more deadly as of the last few years, probably because of the immune dysfunction from COVID. So, yeah, I feel like we have such a lack of respect in the modern era for how fucking dangerous microorganisms are, or like viruses or whatever. You know, that it used to be that you could get a cut on your finger and you would get blood poisoning and fucking die, right? But now we have antibacterial soap and bacitracin ointment and Band-Aids. And so you don't die from a cut on your finger most of the time. Like, and if you did get an infection, you could go to the doctor and they would give you antibiotics or, you know, whatever to get rid of it, and then you'd be okay. And because of the comfort of not having to deal with those issues on a regular basis, that the fact that you don't have to really worry about breaking your arm because you can just go get it fixed, and you don't really have to worry about these diseases because somebody vaccinated you when you were a baby. I think that is how we now have the anti-vax movement. And obviously the anti-vax movement started way before this COVID stuff happened, but just an absolute profound fucking lack of respect for how many of your ancestors died from the flu. You know, like the reason that you get the flu vaccine every year instead of just catching the flu every year is because it kills people. There's a reason why we developed that technology. There's this post that I see go around on Facebook sometimes. Oh, I can't pull it up because I'm logged out of Facebook on my computer and I refuse to log back in. That's the way that I'm keeping myself off of Facebook on my computer. It turns out sometimes I have the impulse to go to Facebook on my computer, and just seeing that I'm logged out is enough to remind me that I shouldn't. And so I haven't logged back into Facebook on my computer after I recently logged out of it, so that's a little hot tip from me to you if you're struggling with your Facebook addiction. I feel like doing it on the phone is a little bit less of it's like harder to sit there for fucking hours on your phone. It's like a less user-friendly experience, and it's harder for me to like watch something on my second monitor while I'm on my phone. So that's been a really successful means of getting me off of Facebook for the most part. This post that I found, it's from Tumblr. So there's two posts. The Tumblr account, Crazy Cat Siren, said, "You know what? My ancestors would have wanted pasteurization, vaccines, antibiotics, disinfectants, birth control, psychiatric medications, pain management, anesthesia. My ancestors would have wanted to be able to keep their loved ones around longer and not lose them too early or too soon to childbirths, injuries, bacterial infections, mental illnesses, and diseases that are curable and or preventable in our modern day life. Modern medicine saves lives." And then somebody responded, this user, Yarrow the Witch, said, "In fact, we know they did want these things because they invented them. They gave them to us out of generations of struggling to understand and make use of nature itself. Ancestral knowledge includes unglamorous things like germ theory, the functioning of the immune system, and how to manufacture life-saving vaccines. It's not just magical or mystical or remote. It's present in our lives at every moment. It's the reward of human connection, the sum total of human discovery, and the boundless ingenuity of human invention surrounding us at all times with absolute miracles made banal by their familiarity." I'm just like, it's so fucking good. I love this post. If we reject modern medicine, then we reject all the labors and trials our ancestors went through for us. We reject our very nature. Please, for your ancestors' sake, vaccinate your kids and take your goddamn medicine. Like, I love this so much because, yeah, our ancestors wanted vaccines. They wanted to reduce the severity of illness. They wanted children to stop dying in infancy. They wanted children to live to adulthood. They wanted people with cancer to get over the cancer and continue to live and be grandparents to their families and everything. So, yeah, that's something that resounds within me very strongly, that, you know, it's we're turning up our noses at all of the deaths of our ancestors that led us to a point where we now have vaccines. And aren't viruses becoming antibiotic resistant? Viruses wouldn't be antibiotic resistant because antibiotics are for bacteria, but bacteria are becoming antibiotic resistant. Yes, they are. I learned something really cool. Oh my God. Okay, so one of my classes We just watched a video or like watched a presentation about biomimicry. Biomimicry, which is basically when human beings study animals and the mechanisms by which animals accomplish things, and we model our technology off of those mechanisms. And so, a really cool one that I just learned about is that so there's a type of shark, it's a type of basking shark that moves really slowly through the water. And those types of animals can be highly susceptible to bacterial infections and algae growth. But this particular shark doesn't have that problem. It just doesn't have that problem at all, really, which is quite noteworthy because it's a basking shark, and they like that. It seems like it would be likely for them to have bacterial infections or accumulation of algae, but they don't. And because there is a microscopic structure on their skin that basically just boing, bacteria just bounce right off of it. They can't settle there. And hospitals or like companies and stuff that produce surfaces in hospitals are using that technology to create surfaces that like bacteria just bounces off of. So using that type of technology, we then create a situation where we no longer need to use heavy cleaners on the surfaces because we know, like rubber and glue, boing fwip, there's just no bacterial residue on these certain surfaces. So that's a really fucking cool thing that I just learned. Yeah, that is just contributes to that whole thing of you don't need to, you know, create all of these resistant bacteria by attempting to kill them off. You know, like eventually there could be some spontaneous mutation that means that bacteria are now surviving bleach. Seems incredibly unlikely, but you know, I'm just saying, like, technically it's possible, or hypothetically it's possible, I should say. Yeah, Evan says, even if C19 was endemic or otherwise comparable to the flu, which it isn't, but if it was, that should be teaching us to take things like the flu more seriously and not minimizing the damage of COVID. Yeah, absolutely. Basking sharks have big mouths, just like me. Ha ha ha, big mouth bitch. I talk a lot. My biggest COVID trauma was actually breaking my arm during fall of 2020 and being triaged because of COVID infections being higher priority. So yeah, even broken bones are affected by people getting sick through things like that happening. That's a good point as well, right? Like if we have a large number of people in the hospital, which the more we are getting out of vaccination, which is like a big American problem, I think, not so much a problem elsewhere where folks are just getting their vaccine every year, which can reduce it can reduce the damage that COVID does to you. It doesn't eliminate it, but it can reduce it dramatically. But yeah, that there was a serious point during the initial waves of infection and could continue to happen now where there is just an overwhelming number of COVID patients or, you know, patients with secondary infections or whatever. That just means that even if you're in an emergency situation, like breaking your arm is it's not like a life-threatening emergency, but it's still an emergency situation. But for the fact that you had to be sidelined because there weren't enough beds and there wasn't enough doctors and there wasn't enough nurses, yikes. Big, big yikes. My university used some of those surfaces on doors as a COVID precaution. Fuck yes. See, that is so cool. I had no idea that there was such a thing as like a microscopic surface that just bounces bacteria off of it, but that's fucking cool. Oh my gosh, I had a friend who died because her breast cancer got ignored because of COVID protocols, even though our city had less than 100 cases in the first year of the pandemic. I feel like if you die from breast cancer, that's you've been ignored for like months and months and months, and not just it wasn't a one-time thing, unless it was severely advanced before she even tried to get it treated. But that's crazy. I'm so sorry. Ooh, yes. And while we're talking about being safe with regards to microorganisms and bullshit like that, the mutations of gonorrhea, according to Shakespeare, have evolved to penetrate the barrier into the bloodstream, causing systemic spread throughout the body, as opposed to what I assume would just be genital exclusive symptoms. I don't know, because wait, no, gonorrhea is the one. No. Maybe I'm thinking of syphilis. Syphilis is the one that can progress and become like brain damage. And we've seen that happen in like old folks' homes and stuff. So I had to guess gonorrhea is gonorrhea the drip? Is that the one it's like it's pretty localized to the genitals, except that it's now mutated to be able to be systemic? That's crazy. Where does the bacteria go after it bounces off the surface? Does that mean we're breathing it in now? Well, the cool thing about hospitals is that they tend to have more advanced air filtration systems. So yes, the bacteria is in the air instead of settling on the surfaces, but then it's getting sucked back into the air filtration system, which is hypothetically purifying the air. It's like hospitals obviously have the best air filtration systems, but we should, in my humble opinion, is that every single business, every single building, every single bus should have hospital-grade air filtration systems. Like, if we lived in the communist utopia that I want to live in, you know, that would be the case. Because, you know, obviously, like, if I have a commune and let's say we have instead of every house having a kitchen, let's say we have a community kitchen with a community meal plan and everything. And, like, I want to be able to share meals with people. Like, I want to be able to live that way. And we could go completely back to normal in a true sense, in the sense of like, I mean, you know, it would actually not be going back to normal completely because we also let people go by the wayside with things like the flu beforehand as well. But if we want to truly go back to like, I can go to dinner and not be concerned by, you know, people coughing around me or whatever, just like install high quality air filtration systems and ventilate the space in such a way that you don't have areas of dead air. Like we could just have this. We could just have this. And you should be so pissed. Like you should be so pissed that we have had a global pandemic that is still a pandemic as far as within the United States is concerned. I don't know if we still have like globally these waves, but in the United States, it's still a pandemic because it all happens across a large amount of time and a large amount of space. And it keeps happening like 4 times a year. And the fact that they like, instead of improving air filtration so that nobody gets post-viral illness, because obviously post-viral illness has been occurring for much longer, like mononucleosis can cause long-term viral persistence that results in like long-term disability. It was a big deal when I was in middle school. It was like, don't get mono, don't get mono, don't get mono. That we could have changed our infrastructure and our culture in a way that would be like, I don't know. Green Garbador says it wouldn't be hospital grade, it would be public health grade. I feel similar about public water. Sure, I guess that's fair. It would be fair to say that the hospitals need a higher degree of filtration because there are workers who are trapped in the building all day, every day. But yeah, like to take public health seriously in any way, shape, or form, you know, that like I finally, in the classroom that I've been at several days a week right now, like I finally discovered where the vent is. It's like on the floor next to the window. I'm like, oh, okay, there's the one fucking vent in this room. I found it. And the window doesn't open. Like I would kill for some fresh air in here. But I wear a mask and then I double up with my Salinex Protect. This is comparable to betadine. It has the active ingredient of iota-carrageenan, and that is a good backup for, you know, if you're like, I'm wearing a mask, but I still might be in a small space with somebody who's sick. This is the good. This is the good. Get you some Salinex or betadine. Not a sponsor, but I fucking would. Dude. Give me $1,000 and I will talk about it for the rest of my life. Ooh, yes, that's cool. Okay, so some cicadas apparently have microscopic structures on their wings that rupture bacteria on contact. So it actually like punctures the bacterial cell wall and kills them. That's so cool. Let's try that. Classrooms are terrible for windows. I'm a teacher, and 98% of the rooms I've taught in don't have openable windows. Yeah, it seems like a fucking like a crime. Like it seems bad. I mean, and it's a college, so I feel like they could afford to fix those kind of things. But I guess if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And if you're a college administrator, you're probably thinking that none of it needs to be fixed. No, I need an onion for cooking. No. Gonorrhea is topical for contact, so you can get gonorrhea on your mouth, hands, or feet, lips and genitals, of course, being primary vectors. So it typically is like stays where it topically, like it fomite spread through touch, as opposed to becoming systemic. Like I get herpes outbreak on my mouth sometimes, but I don't get herpes in my eyes, and I don't have genital herpes because herpes is still locally in the area that it was impacted. Interesting. Ooh, Evan has produced a paper on long COVID and anosognosia, which we were talking about earlier. That's fun. I'm gonna drink some soda while we wait for this to open. Copper is a naturally killing surface. The problem with copper is that it very quickly forms a coating of copper oxide on the outside, which is not reactive with things in the same way. I'm pretty sure the reason why copper is an effective spermicide in IUDs is because the acidic environment in the vaginal canal, the acid prevents a copper oxide coating from forming or prevents it from building up. But I've asked this question as well with regards to my cat's water fountain. I was like, could I hypothetically just take some copper and put it in the water, and that would prevent the accumulation of microbes and accumulation of biofilm? But yeah, it basically just creates copper oxide almost immediately on the external surface of the copper, and therefore it doesn't really have any impact on water quality. So yeah, you're correct that copper has like an antimicrobial impact, but only in certain conditions. Sometimes I'm like, I am not that smart. And then sometimes I get done saying a bunch of stuff and I'm like, oh yeah, I am smart. Or I start a fucking calculus class and I'm like easily understanding a lot of stuff that other people are struggling with. And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I am smart. I forgot. Oops. These are the same colleges that leave the heat on in April, May, so everyone's boiling and we can't open the windows. True. Functional connectivity underlying cognitive and psychiatric symptoms in post-COVID-19 syndrome. Is anosognosia a key determinant? Lack of awareness of cognitive impairment, i.e. anosognosia, could be a key factor for distinguishing between neuropsychological post-COVID-19 condition phenotypes. In this context, the twofold aim of the present study was to, 1, establish the prevalence of anosognosia for memory impairment according to the severity of the infection in the acute phase, and 2, determine whether anosognosic patients with post-COVID syndrome have a different cognitive and psychiatric profile from nosognic patients with associated difference in brain functional connectivity. Therefore, many tests were administered post-COVID infection. I'm just going to scroll to the conclusion if I'm going to be for real with you. I'm going to be so for real with you. I'm just going to skip to the conclusion part because I don't want to fucking read all of this right now. I appreciate that you were thorough in your assessment results. Based on anosognosia for memory dysfunction scores, we divided the sample into one group. Wait, results is not the same as conclusion. That's not what I want. I want the conclusion. I know I'm being lazy, but it's okay. Here's the thing about studies is that you can just read the conclusion sometimes. Okay, here we conclusion. To our knowledge, this study is the first to identify anosognosia for memory disorders as a factor that can be used to create subgroups of patients with cognitive and psychiatric post-COVID-19 condition symptoms. This anosognosia appears to reflect a broader dysfunction related to general self-awareness, possibly also concerning olfactory and respiratory symptoms and involving brain networks that subtend self-monitoring. From a clinical point of view, this paves the way for further research and also underlines the need to pay particular attention to the management of patients without complaints. Okay, so basically this concludes that even if you have a patient that doesn't have a complaint, you might need to investigate further because of the impact that anosognosia has on a patient's self-awareness and ability to report symptoms. So I know that the conclusion doesn't really like hard lines say like, yes, like COVID causes this, but it's like by implication, it's basically saying, yes, there does appear to be this phenomenon and it is occurring in post-COVID patients. And this needs to be a factor in how we approach treatment for patients who are mostly not reporting symptoms. So yeah, anyway, that's really interesting. Thank you for searching that up. Some papers don't have conclusion sections, I know, and it's torture. Calc 1 is fine. Calc 2 is where the rubber hits the road and it gets weird. I guess I'm curious. So here's what I'm supposed to do, Byron, is I'm taking functions right now, which is pre-calc 1, and then next semester or next term or whatever they call it at the schools up here, I'm taking trigonometry, pre-calc 2, and then I'm able to take differential calculus, which is basically that's like what's typically like the first term math class for this program. So what is differential calc in your description of calc 1 and calc 2? Where does differential calc fit into that? Because of the implications. Exactly. Yeah, exactly, Emma. I've heard that silver has antibacterial properties. Is that similar to copper? You know, I actually hadn't heard that about silver. Maybe. I know that, like, copper is excellent as far as electrical conductivity, but silver and gold are both better than copper in terms of electrical conductivity. But the reason that we don't use silver and gold to wire our houses is because it's so much more scarce and expensive. But gold is basically like the perfect electrical conductor. So I'm curious, like, if there is an antimicrobial property to silver, but we just don't use it. Like, you know, we don't put silver IUDs inside people's cervix. We put copper IUDs inside people's cervix. So I don't know if that's because one of them is more or less antimicrobial and just there's a factor of cost in there. I don't know. That's an interesting question. We should have called COVID the Dunning-Kruger virus. True. Importantly, to what we were talking about earlier, we're in super early stages of figuring out what is or isn't going on. Yeah, that's a critically important element when we're talking about seeing what the long-term impacts of COVID are going to be, because guys, people didn't know about AIDS or know about HIV until the early 80s, which is when some gay men started having nebulous health problems that were then found to be tied back into HIV. And it takes like 10 to 12 years for untreated HIV to develop into AIDS. We know for a fact that COVID damages the immune system in a very similar way to the way that HIV damages the immune system. So, and it hasn't even been 10 years since COVID was discovered and came about. So we don't know what the 10-year survival rate is for COVID. It could be that at the 10-year mark, we all drop dead suddenly. Like, that's the thing, is like, when you're looking at health issues like this, you're looking at longer term information, or you need longer term information. Like, you can't necessarily say, oh, it's safe to catch this disease if we don't have, for a while it was like, we don't know the 5-year survivability rate for this disease. Well, we have that, but we now don't have the 10-year or the 20-year survivability of this disease. So it could very well be that in a few years, everybody has AIDS. And that is not an exaggeration, and I'm not scaremongering. That's just a fact. That we could very well be looking down the barrel of like literally everybody in America has an acquired immune deficiency syndrome, which is what AIDS stands for, by the way. Differential calc would probably be comparable to regular calc 1 because calc 2 is much more focused on integrals and antiderivatives. Okay. I would think differential calc is going to be focused on derivatives and differential equations. Yeah, that would be my best guess. And it's not the last math class I have to take. I just don't have the list up right now looking forward into the world. Guys, Pell Grants are amazing. Like, so when you submit your FAFSA and you do, if anybody is like curious about going to college and you're feeling like you can't afford it or whatever, they consider the total cost of going to school, including all of your living expenses. So that's how you get like the score of how much aid you're going to receive or like what grants that you're going to get. So I'm still working, quote unquote, full time, whatever that looks like for somebody with a job that's as fucking weird as mine is, but I'm still working a lot of hours, and I got Pell Grants and I got state aid that is going to completely pay for my classes. So like if you were looking at the total number of like, let's assume that it's like $40,000 for tuition and my living expenses and my food and everything, because all that gets factored into your FAFSA score. But like, so for me, it's basically like I just get to go to school for free this year. Like I just get to functionally go to school for free because the amount of student aid that I was given covers the cost of my tuition completely. So, obviously you might not have the option to like, what I'm doing is basically like I have enough time with my job that so far I'm not falling dramatically behind in my schoolwork. Obviously it was like last week was my first week and I'm still kind of figuring it out, but obviously your student aid is also dependent on whether you're full-time or part-time or whatever. But yeah, if you're like, I want to dive into it and see how it goes, I would recommend getting the process started, because you can always pull out, like if I were to quit all my classes right now, if I were to go drop all of my classes right now, there would be no consequences. There would be no FAFSA payout or anything. Like the FAFSA doesn't pay out until they're like a couple weeks after the classes start. So you could get all the way to the place that I am at and still back out of the process. You like feel free. If any of you are like, I'm interested in higher education, check it out. See what is the process like at a near college to you, like a community college or something, and see like, okay, what is the estimated cost per credit hour at this institution? And you can't know if you're going to qualify for grants in particular until you submit an application for it. So I definitely recommend checking it out, because I was just laboring under this misapprehension for my entire 20s. Just like college is too expensive, college is too expensive, college is too expensive. No, there are grants, which means grants you don't have to pay back. And you also, it's like, it's kind of a part-time job in and of itself, but you can also be looking at scholarships throughout the whole year. There are different scholarships that have different due dates for applications throughout the year. And so you could end up even with more money than you explicitly need to cover your classes, because again, student aid is factoring in all of your cost of living expenses as well. So go to a community college with a remote option. Non-zero chance I'll be your physics teacher. True. Any sort of engineering will require calculus, possibly through dedicated classes and differential equations. Yeah. So yeah, differential calc is, I'm looking forward to doing that in the winter this year. And also I have to take like chemistry 201 and math for engineers specifically, like the math for engineers specifically class that I have to take. So yay. Do grants affect your tax return later? I don't think so. I think it's basically just free money. Like, I think that you have to report it, but it's not taxable income. Hold on, let me double check this. Okay, so basically, I think that the Pell Grant is not taxable unless the amount exceeds the cost of your education. So a portion of it might be taxable if it doesn't, hold on, I don't know, it's like maybe if it doesn't go directly to your tuition costs. Using them for other costs like room and board could turn it into taxable income, but if you're using it on tuition and fees, they're generally tax-free. Okay. So yeah, it's possible that like I might have to pay taxes on some of it if it exceeds the total amount that I'm spending on school. But then you just have an incentive to take as many classes as you can fucking physically make time for, so that you put as much of that money into the classes as possible. A Pell Grant does not need to be reported on your tax return if you satisfy the 2 IRS requirements that apply to all scholarships and grants. You must be enrolled in a program as a degree candidate, or you must be pursuing a training program that prepares you for specific types of employment upon completion. So that is one aspect of the Pell Grants, is like, you have to, like, I'm like, hey, this is the program that I'm in. I'm in the electrical engineering program, and I plan to get a degree from this 4-year school later. So I like have that plan. So that's part of what's predicated. And then the other part, yeah, you must use the Pell Grant only to pay for, quote, qualified education expenses. Any portion of your Pell Grant that is not spent on qualified education expenses is required to be reported as income on your tax return. Qualified education expenses include tuition and fee payments and the books, supplies, and equipment required for your courses. I just bought this book with my own money because I haven't gotten my student aid yet. So, like, can I take the fucking $20 that I spent on this book? And that's, how do I need to figure out how to pay attention to all those things. I gotta figure that out. Oh my gosh, Evan, that's crazy. Oh, hold on, wait, hold on. I missed out on some comments earlier. Calculus sucks. Most miserable class I ever had was Calc 2. I like it. I'm a big fucking nerd. So here's actually a fun fact about me. This is my second week of school, and I have realized that I actually need to save my math homework as the reward for finishing my other homework, because I don't like the other classes as much. Like, I mean, I like the other classes, but I think my math homework is just like faster and it's more rewarding because a college book costing $20. This is just a book by Octavia Butler that I'm reading. So the book is only like $20 because it is just a book by a person. It's not a college textbook. It's just Octavia Butler and a book that she wrote. So that's why it's only $20. But anyway, so I am such a giant fucking nerd, you guys, that I am using my math homework as the reward for finishing my other homework. What is wrong with me? I did not expect to be this person. I genuinely thought that, but I'm taking 3 classes right now, and I really thought that my favorite class was going to be either the art class or the English class. But it turns out, I guess my favorite class is the math class. This is crazy. Later, Evan. Have appreciated you in today. People in the community knew HIV was happening throughout the 70s, with the earliest case in 1959. Yeah. So it wasn't like officially we've studied it and we know what it is until it was like the 80s. Because, yeah, obviously, like if a bunch of people are getting weirdly sick frequently, all of a sudden, like, yeah, the community is aware. But as far as like we know about HIV specifically, I mean, I only briefly just was reading about this week for a completely separate reason, but, oh, it's because this book takes place in the 70s. Well, parts of this book take place in the 1970s. And I was like, are the 1970s? Is that when AIDS was happening? But like the big AIDS crisis was in the 80s, because at that point you have all of the immune debt or the immune deficiency built up. And then, the mass death really starts to take place at that point in the 80s. But obviously, yeah, people would have been sick throughout the 70s because it takes 10 years for you to get full-blown AIDS. It's a terrible Family Guy reference. I'm so sorry, everybody. 3 classes in a summer session. Yeah, I'm doing it's a much shorter session, so yeah, I'm gonna be suffering for the next 2 months. But I like it. I don't know, I enjoy it. I'm enjoying it so far. The thing that sucked, oh my god, I can't believe that I'm an hour and a half into this stream and I only just am ready to tell you that I went to Trans Pride Seattle on Friday. I drove through Portland, God save me, up to Seattle on Friday and back. So I didn't get home until the wee hours of the morning. So yeah, that was fun. And I'm really excited for this upcoming week because I am not going to be gone for the entire day on Friday, meaning it will be much easier for me to catch up on my work, on my schoolwork on Friday, and consequently Saturday. I was so fucking tired on Saturday because I only got like 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and I still was doing my math homework and having mental breakthroughs of like, oh, this makes more sense now. I understand it now. I don't want to spend my stream time talking about math because I think you all would hate it, but Reading Kindred, there were parts where I thought, why doesn't she just use the internet? Oh, right, it's the 70s. She had to actually go to the library to learn things. Exactly, yeah. Any plans for Disability Pride Month? There is a disability group that I plan to go to later in July. So that's kind of the extent of my plans for Disability Pride Month. Is like I'm going to try to make some more disabled friends. RIP driving through Portland. Dude, it added literally an entire hour to my drive. Which it's already like several hours to drive from Portland to Seattle, but driving through Portland on I-5, literally stop and go traffic. There was no construction. There was no car accident. Just an entire fucking hour of stop and go traffic for no discernible reason. And I hated it. And I guess I'm just going to plan for half my fucking day to be driving if the next time I go up to Seattle for some reason. So that's really frustrating. And I'm feeling a sense of regret that I decided to move to Oregon instead of Washington because of the friends that I have who live in Seattle and I have to drive 8 fucking million years to get to see them. So the next time I plan to go to Seattle, I'm going to do at least one overnight instead of driving back in the same day because I hate Portland. It sucks so bad. But dude, Seattle at nighttime, oh my God, so pretty. Oh my God, so pretty. So Trans Pride Seattle is in a park near downtown Seattle, which like downtown Seattle being like, that's where the Space Needle is. That's where the buildings are really tall. And so the biggest city that I've seen prior to this is Kansas City, Missouri. Like Kansas City, Missouri, which it has big, tall buildings and everything. And maybe it's just because I'm from there, but it didn't feel particularly impressive. Because I also like there's the Downs right there next to this big city. And so I'm like, okay, well, yeah, but it's like a big city, but then there's the Downs. So there's this, I'm sorry if you're not from Kansas City, you have no fucking idea what I'm talking about. There's this really dilapidated part of Kansas City, Missouri, right next to the big, like the big tall buildings, you know, like you were driving toward Kansas City, Missouri from the Kansas side and you can see all the big tall buildings. But before you get there, you drive through the Downs, which like, it's kind of cool and grungy. And there's like all these brick buildings that used to be like factories or something. And now whenever you go to the big haunted houses, like the Beast haunted house was in the Downs, and it's cool. It's like cool, but it's still like, it's a shitty little dilapidated area right next to what's supposed to be this big city. But so Trans Pride is at this public park, like this really beautiful big public park with an amphitheater. And I was driving my friend home. I like picked up my friend because they live a little bit south of Seattle. So I picked up my friend and I was taking them home to drive them. And so we go from these like neighborhoods and stuff, and then we get on the highway, and then suddenly everything opens up and I'm like, oh my God. I like literally said, I think I said wow out loud because it was so pretty. Like the big buildings with all the windows and the lights in the windows and stuff. It was gorgeous. And yeah, I would choose my hotel. If I go up and stay in Seattle for a couple days, I would literally choose a hotel based on, does it have that city view? Because it was gorgeous. There's a physics reason why traffic stops like that for no reason. Yeah, I watched the CGP Grey video about it years ago, and it doesn't make me want to kill people any less. It's still fucking stupid. It's still literally caused by people just being stupid. Why are you hitting your brakes on the highway? Just ease off the pedal and slow down gradually, and then we don't have this problem. But it's people start hitting their brakes, and then everybody behind you has to hit their brakes, and it's really fucking stupid. It is still caused by people being stupid. It's not just physics. It is people being dumb. I have never felt more sure than driving through the city of Portland that I want to live in the woods. I hate people so much, and I hate being around them, and I think that individual folks are smart, but that people as a group are fucking stupid. And I hate it, and I hate it, and I hate it, and I hate Portland. I'm sorry. I hate Portland so much. Weirdly, the traffic wasn't nearly as... It was rush hour by the time I got to Seattle because the event started at 5. And I was a little bit late. So it was like, it was rush hour or maybe just after rush hour when I was driving in Seattle, and it wasn't nearly as bad. Although someone did slam on their brakes in front of me for no discernible reason, and thank my skill that I didn't hit that person, but thank the gods and luck that the person behind me was also paying enough attention to not slam into me, because that would have fucking sucked balls. Trans Pride Seattle was such an amazing experience. So glad I went. Yeah. How does it feel for any of you who were at Trans Pride Seattle, knowing that I was there and you had no idea? Because I didn't tell anybody beforehand that I was. I mean, I told my friends. I specifically went there because I was like, oh, this is going to be a great opportunity where all of my friends that I know in Seattle are going to be all in one place. So I got to finally meet Demon Mama in person. I got to finally meet Gayfesh in person. I got to finally meet my friend Silent in person. I had already gone up and visited Dizzy in like February, so I saw Dizzy, but I got to meet Demon Mama's partners. I got to meet Doe, which was so fun. I feel like I was a little awkward and I was kind of mad about the traffic and a little bit tired. So that was my poor planning on my part. I should have just left 2 hours earlier. But yeah, I got to meet my friends, and I got a wrist thingy. I got one of these. I got a little Trans Colors wrist thingy. And I got a carabiner. I got a free carabiner, which was like one of the only things I wanted from the whole experience. Free carabiner. I'm getting automatic rejections from companies that I am now qualified to work at. I'm starting to think they're not real job postings. Follow up. I applied for a job I was 100% qualified for last week. Like, you could argue that I was the perfect candidate, It was Python integrations and analytics, which is what I did at my previous job, and I got a rejection in 16 minutes. Yeah, I've heard a lot about that it seems like these companies are posting fake jobs as a means of like artificially inflating their value. Like, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing, baby girl? You gonna jump up there? Nobody's donated today, so I can't pick you up and show you to stream, unfortunately. I know. It's a $100 donation goal, and there's no donations. You gonna jump up there anyway? You gonna screw me out of my money? I guess you guys can't really see her. She's behind chat, but look at that tail going. Are you disturbed? Is the construction so loud outside? Are you my baby? Did I not feed you wet food earlier? I didn't feed you wet food earlier. She's adorable. If I had been there, I would have worn a Jimmy Snow mask and followed you around. Yeah, well, good luck recognizing me. I admit hearing this, I feel like I missed out, but still you were there to hang out with your friends and not meet fans. Yeah, that's true. Like helping Dizzy get around because Dizzy is a wheelchair user. So I was like, we walked around a little bit, and by walked around, I mean it was on a hill, so I had to push Dizzy at times. It got colder than I was expecting. I was like worried about being too hot, but it ended up being like, it was just breezy. It was like too cold in some ways. One time the Portland traffic was at a standstill on the bridge for so long that my AFAB friend resorted to peeing in a fast food cup. Yeah, that's rough. You can also get a lot of personal data from a fake job posting. That's a good point, because you're submitting all your information. Like, imagine submitting your resume that has your full name and your address on it to a fake, like a fake job posting. That would be crazy. What are you doing, Quasi? You're being crazy. I know. She's been feeling really playful, but I have not been giving her the interpersonal violence that she craves this past few days. I've been like trying to play with her with toys and stuff. What are you doing? Mina, what are you doing? Are you a freak? You being a freak? She's like playing with my rug. Weirdo. Name, address, email, phone number, and if you're employed, where you currently work. Yeah, that's a lot of information. You're just like trusting that someone... Yeah, that there is a company at the other side of this application that is not just going to steal or sell your info. Been ages since I had to apply for a job. You need to put your full address. It's part of the traditional format. Like, like MLA format for a college essay. Like, you put your name, the name of the class, the teacher's name, and the date has to be in a certain format or whatever. It's just normal for a resume as part of the header to have that personal information in it. You don't need to. Obviously, like someone in chat said, I've been leaving my address off of the resume. Yeah. There's a girl on TikTok reacting to deductions. What do you mean by that? Deductions? Like tax deductions, or what are we talking about? There's a Men in Black quote. A person is smart. People are stupid, bigoted, angry, whatever, and you know it. Yeah, shout out to fucking Tommy. What is his full name? I got as far as Tommy. Is that who I'm thinking of? Why am I not getting this? He was also in Captain America. Tommy Lee Jones. It's Tommy Lee Jones. See, I said it before any of you said it. Nobody has said it. It's Tommy Lee Jones. I'm pretty sure. Fuck you, Goblin. Sorry, I love you. Sorry, I'm just being a goofer. I'm just being a goober. Sorry. Insurance deductibles. Oh, a deductible, like you have to pay a certain amount before your insurance will kick in. Like, a lot of plans will have like, I don't know, let's say like a $7,000 deductible, and so you pay $7,000 for your own healthcare before it kicks on. Yeah, I'm paying like $600 a month for a zero deductible plan. I was like, I'm like not fucking around, dude. If I'm paying any money for insurance, I will suck Satan's dick before you fucking charge me for any of my shit. Are you fucking kidding me about the deductibles? I genuinely think that these people are trying to get their buildings firebombed. Like, I don't know what the logic is behind charging you for healthcare that you've already paid for. Like, besides accelerationism. Oh my God, what a funny narrative I've just created where insurance companies are deliberately doing accelerationism. Wow. Okay. I just put the city on it now instead of the whole address. Yeah, that makes sense. I check on it periodically, you know, just speaking of insurance deductibles and that kind of thing. What am I doing? I've been keeping tabs on Healthcare for All Oregon. Dude, I recently got an extension that basically puts dark mode on every website that I visit in Google Chrome, and wow, it has dramatically improved my quality of life. Anyway, I've been keeping my eyes on this for a while because Healthcare for All Oregon it's a nonprofit organization that seems to be making a lot of progress in making it to where Oregon will implement our first universal health plan in the United States, like the first universal health plan in the entire United States. And basically what the stage in the process that we're at right now is that there's like a deadline in September. So in September, the UHP Governance Board is supposed to submit its recommended plan to the Oregon legislature. And by that, like, the recommended plan means, how are we going to fund this? So if we're implementing universal health care, how are we going to tax companies or whatever to make that happen? And then once the plan is delivered, there are three options. Either the Oregon legislature creates Oregon's single payer plan, which will roll out in 2027. Like, they could write it and implement it and vote on it, or vote on it and then implement it in 2027, which would be next year. Now, it might still be that they are like, they create a rollout like by 5 years plan, blah, 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 whatever. But basically, it could be that the Oregon legislature moves forward on the plan in 2027 next year. Another option is that the Oregon legislature could put it on the ballot, put a ballot measure, which would mean in 2027 or 2028, we would be voting on it as a popular vote thing. Or if the Oregon legislature takes no action, then organizations like Healthcare for All Oregon are going to advocate and collect signatures to put it on a ballot initiative, which would then be taking place in 2028. So even if the official stance from the elected officials is to do nothing, this plan gets it on the Oregon ballot. So I think so here we're seeing the task force report showed that it will take 2 years to fully implement the plan. The governance board is working out the details of the transition plan. When implementation is complete, every Oregonian will have access to quality, affordable healthcare with no deductibles, copays, or other out-of-pocket expenses. And so we're basically looking at 2030 as the latest. 2030 would be the latest. Because, again, if we did this ballot initiative in 2028, 2 years of implementation from that point would be 2030. 2030 is the latest date that the whole state of Oregon will have universal health care. So, like, legitimately, even if our elected officials are like, fuck you, we hate you, and we're not going to do it, we are going to shove it into a ballot initiative and force it through and make it happen. So that's something that I've been keeping my eyes on, and I'm very excited about seeing what the implementation of that looks like, or what the budget plan is going to be. I feel like it's going to be really easy to make the budget for this, because it's going to be like, hey, you know, all of those businesses that are currently spending like $1,000 a month per employee to get the employee health plan, what if we took like $700 of that in taxes, and the company gets to keep $300, or even put it toward the employee, I don't know, but it seems like it should be pretty fucking easy to find, because again, it's like, it's not like, you know, I don't know, maybe that's just personal opinion on my side, where I'm like, if we have universal healthcare, we kind of don't really need to have private insurance anymore. But there's probably going to be some people who are like, I want my private insurance. I prefer my private insurance. I want to get absolutely fucking ass raped by a company charging me $600 a month for health insurance and then not covering my, not covering the healthcare that I've gotten, or denying me healthcare that my doctor said that I needed. Yeah. So, but that's really exciting to me. Oh my gosh. Viren says a lot of jobs on LinkedIn are for AI training. Like, no, I will not help you train your homework for cheating bot, LMAO. Yeah. I hadn't really considered them being for AI training. That's wild. Oh my god, there's some kind of work-related emergency happening. I'm just gonna read my texts and see what the fuck is going on here. My watch is just blowing up. Okay, they are having a last-minute snafu surrounding Matt's show, The Hang Up, tonight. There was a little miscommunication on whether Arden was going to be back producing this week. She's not back producing yet. Not yet. I said it before you with the delay. No, Goblin, I'm not saying that you don't get credit for remembering who Tommy Lee Jones is. All I'm saying is that I remembered it before I saw anybody. Nobody had said it in the chat yet. I remembered it before. Oh my god, you guys. You're absolutely blowing up my shit right now. Oh my god, I'm not going to reiterate what's going on in the production chat, but it is funny. Whole Health Washington is also going for universal healthcare statewide. Basically, they're proposing to cut out insurance completely and have a small increase in taxes on the wealthiest to cover everyone. If that last part weren't true, it should be. Yeah. Yeah, Arden's fine. She had surgery and it's been like almost a month since she had her procedure. She's fine. She's just not she's not all the way back to work yet. She took off June to recover from her procedure, but she's doing good. She's fine. Like she's well, I would say. She's doing well. I saw her at the production meeting last week. Hadn't seen her in a few weeks, and she looks healthy. She has a healthy pallor. She looks like she's doing good. She's just been like living on the couch for a month. Yeah, her recovery has basically been far better than expected. So if y'all are concerned about Arden, she is in tip-top shape. She's very happy. She's very pleased. And I don't want to tell you what she did or anything because it's private, but once she is back and working and speaking for herself, then I'm sure that it will all become clear. And she is posting, if you guys follow her on social media, I have seen her posting reels on Facebook or stories or whatever, and so maybe on Instagram. So if you guys want to check up on her, I think she has been posting on at least some of her socials. So if you're curious how she's doing or what procedure she got or how has she been handling being stir crazy for the last month, that is available. So okay, they're still working on some details, but yeah, no, she's doing good. She's doing good. You know what's really funny is we did that show with Jovan like a month or two ago about like who's the best superhero, and I argued that Omni-Man is the best superhero, and everybody was like, no. I got further than I thought I would in that. It was funny, but she was like, oh, I've started watching Invincible, and I was like, are you coming around to my position? Have you maybe changed your mind at all? And she was like, I'm like in season 3, so I'm starting to come around. And I'm like, yes. Yes. Oh boy. Gay pride is a party. Trans pride is a resource fair. I didn't really stop at many of the tables. It was much more crowded than I was expecting. And honestly, I was a little bit disappointed because Trans Pride Seattle has consistently been branding itself as like, prior to this year, it was branding itself as a masks required event. And they were like, this year we've decided to change our verbiage. We are now saying it's a masks expected event. We expect masks, but because some, immune compromised people might want to plan differently if it's not going to be 100% conformity on that. So they've changed it to masks expected event. But there were still I would say probably less than half of the people were wearing masks. And I was really disappointed by that. It's did you even read the website? Did you look at all? This event is ran by people with disabilities. And trans people are more likely than the general population to be disabled in the first place, and more likely than the general population to be disabled by COVID. So I was pretty annoyed and disappointed. Obviously it's an outdoor event, but it's still several hundred people. I don't actually know. I'm curious. Do we know how many people attended Trans Pride Seattle 2026? I don't know. I don't know if there's information about that. That's crazy. According to their website, they reach over 30,000 attendees every year who gather from all around the world to celebrate, resist, and be in community together. Maybe that park was bigger than I realized even. 30,000. What? Okay, hold on. This is from Instagram. The mayor of Seattle said, I stood with our LGBTQ plus community at Trans Pride and the Seattle Pride Parade this weekend, and Seattle showed up. I'm proud to be part of a city that celebrates and supports this community. Wait, where's the numbers? I thought I saw the numbers. Was there a number of attendees? There was a number of attendees in the overview. I was gonna be damn, the mayor said how many people were there? That's gotta be accurate. Where? Specifically Trans Pride Seattle. So I guess thousands of people at minimum, thousands of people. $30,000? I thought one of the numbers said 30,000, or was that maybe just a fudging of the Seattle Pride Parade, the big Pride Parade, which is 300,000 people. So anyway, I was around the most trans people that I've ever seen this weekend. Truly, yeah. Even not counting the virus, you may want to hide your face when going to a thing the government don't like. True. Are there any thoughts of a bigger time block for Takis? It seems like it's been a few now that have been running out of time with callers still on. So the amount of time that we slot for Takis is 3 hours, which is pretty typical for a lot of our shows. Skep Talk, After Dark, and so Skep Talk and After Dark are the shows that I produce on Sunday and Monday. We typically aim for 3 hours. Sometimes we run a little bit longer, but we don't plan to run longer. That just happens sometimes. Or if we do obviously the show with Erica and Forrest, we plan for 8 hours. We just plan for it to be a really long show. But 3 hours is typically the longer streams that we plan. On Sundays, we have 3 hours of Matt Dillahunty's show, and then we have 3 hours of our political show with Jimmy Snow, and then we have 3 hours of After Dark back on the line. So I guess if we didn't do super chats, we would be filling out that full 3 hours with calls instead of we have to stop at the 2.5 hour mark and then take super chats for the last 30 minutes or so. But I mean, it's the only thing that we could do is start earlier because we have, following Takis, we have the politics show Calling It Now, and I'm usually on both. So it's And if we did it longer, listen, those days where we do Takis and then Jimmy Snow Show, I'm on camera for 6 consecutive hours with only a short break for me to run to the bathroom in between the 2 shows. So if we did it any longer, that would be an enormous amount of time just being on camera, being on stream. So yeah, we don't really have any plans to make it longer because 3 hours is as long as our shows typically go. The one where we really run out of time is on Chewed Gum, because on Chewed Gum now we only do 2.5 hours. So we have to stop at like the 2 hours or 2 hour 15-minute mark and then try to run through our super chats really quickly. So that's like the shortest show. But which, by the way, if anybody's curious, I will be live tomorrow on Takis with Riverboat Jack, and I'm also producing Takis. And then I'll be running into the Jimmy Snow Show tomorrow. And then I'm not really sure what the rest of the month looks like because Jimmy is scheduling a debate or some debates upcoming, and some of those might happen on Thursdays during the time slot. But it's entirely possible that I'm going to do... Let me look at my schedule. So it's entirely possible, if we don't have any of those debates, that I'm going to be doing double duty Takis and Calling It Now on the 2nd and the 9th and the 16th and the 23rd. And then possibly doing Calling It Now on the 30th, but I am not scheduled for Takis on the 30th. So it's going to be... Listen, I love these months where there's 5 Thursdays, but I'm going to be a busy bitch. I am going to be one busy bitch. Oh my god, so many blue names in the chat right now. Onion acquired. That's amazing. I do want to ask Arden some deets on how she went about stuff. Not sure if that's weird, though. Yeah, I mean, I think that asking is not inappropriate. If you're like, hey, I know this is really personal, but she, I'm sure, is okay with recommending her surgeon. She's had an easier time than a lot of women seem to with that procedure. Like, there was another woman who got the same procedure the same day she did, and that other woman was like really having a hard time with her recovery and pain and stuff. So, yeah, I'm sure that would not be outside the realm of possibility, but I would wait until next week when she's going to be back. I guess as of Sunday, she's going to be back to mostly the same kind of full-time schedule. She's easing back into it right now by working. She's like, I'm working a couple hours at a time right now, just easing back into it. But yeah, so I would say next week, you might just be like, hey, I'm thinking about doing the same thing. Are you willing to give me any tips or pointers or whatever? I'm sure that would be fine. I'm at the craft store right now buying materials for my first 3D D&D battle map. Any advice from TTRPG heads? Ooh, I don't know. I've never made a battle map before. That sounds fun. I find that the crazy callers come more at night. We should get a Takis for prime time started. Yeah, it's not going to happen. We've been bugging about changing the time, and he's like, no, I want to keep it where it is. I'm like, all right, fine. It's your fucking company. I don't know if you're a protein shake dragon now that you're doing gym regularly, but if I'm streaming, I do my protein shakes during the stream because dairy drinks are good for keeping your throat feeling good while yapping for hours on end. Maybe this is just because of my background as a singer, because I was in choir for many years when I was a young warthog, but I think milk for a situation where you're going to be using your voice a lot is actually horrible. It's claggy. It sticks to your vocal cords. Like, it sticks. It makes things feel like gunky and sticky. Maybe that's just an opinion. It's like what people say if you're a singer or if you're going to be talking a lot, people say like take a shot of whiskey, because that like clears things out. But I don't know. That's I mean, if you're feeling relief drinking dairy, that's cool. I also do my protein. I do a protein drink early in the morning. Actually, this is so funny. This is actually funny, and I want to show you this. I'll be right back. So, not sponsored, but this is all of my protein drinks powder and my creatine. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Look, okay, check this out. Okay, this one's almost empty. This one fucking sucks. Vanilla ice cream whey protein sucks balls. Not a good. It doesn't taste good. It tastes bad. I don't like it. I need to finish using it because I'm tired of it. It's not my favorite. Get it out of here. Okay, what is that though? Hold on. This is a 1.5 pound Optimum Nutrition. Okay, and then hold on, and then yeah, this is the one that I've been using. This is double chocolate. This one's a 4 pound jar. So I make chocolate milk with this basically. I get the soy milk and then the chocolate, and then I put a little bit of Hershey's chocolate in there as well. And then, hold on. I did have a smaller container of creatine because I got a smaller container like, ooh, I'm just going to try it. And that's a little one, actually. Oh, I'm kicking stuff. It's okay. So this is the thing of creatine that I just smashed. I smashed this finally. It's empty now. Finished it off today. And so I bought this because I was like, oh, it turns out that creatine is really easy to add into your it's unflavored and it dissolves, and it's really well supported in the literature for helping with muscular recovery and sleep quality and your brain. But obviously mostly people take it for muscle recovery, but this is my giant thing of creatine, my 2.5 pounds of creatine. So I add that, and then this is the one that I just got, which I haven't really gotten into yet. This one's white chocolate, which is seemingly well regarded as like the best flavor of this brand of protein powder. So anyway, that was fun. I got this because I want to make smoothies in the morning. And I think that, obviously I don't like the vanilla one very much. And that this is probably going to be the best flavor for me in terms of, being able to make like a raspberry smoothie that doesn't taste like ass. So, yeah. Anyway. That's all the protein. That's actually not all of the protein drinks in my living room, because my younger sibling, y'all may have remembered, like I've said stuff about them before, but they struggle a little bit with gaining weight. And so there was a trans girl on Instagram, I think her name is Saber, but a trans girl on Instagram who was talking about how she was like, I didn't get the boobies and the hips that I wanted because I was super skinny. And so in order for fat redistribution to help me gain my womanly figure, I started using Mass Gainer protein powder. So I actually have a giant bag of Mass Gainer protein powder in the kitchen as well that is for my younger sibling. Like, I don't need Mass Gainer powder. It's just like I don't need that much. But yeah, so anyway. Maybe the dairy fats are like a lube for your throat. Yeah. Okay, maybe. I'm a fitness girly who takes her nutrition very seriously because I want to be healthy. Also me. Yay, protein, chalky milk time. So yeah, I use soy milk instead of regular milk because it has good protein and like very little fat content, and it's just good for you. It has good macros. So soy milk, and then unsweetened soy milk, and then my chocolate protein powder, and then some Hershey's chocolate syrup, because you actually do need some carbs. You do need some carbs when you go work out. And then my 5 grams of creatine. I've just only been doing 5 grams of creatine, but that's basically what I drink, not literally every morning, but just about every morning. That's how I get my day started. So I hope that everybody appreciates how silly I am. I just came in here with like my arms full of giant jars of protein powder. Yeah, anyway, that was fun for me. I just have P2B and Vega brand protein and creatine powder for days when I don't have the drive to cook anything. Yeah, if I was in that place where I was in many years ago where like my appetite was so low that I functionally couldn't eat anything, I would be using mass gainer powder. But at this point, like, I weigh more than I would like. Although I'm trying to get off of thinking about my weight and thinking more about like what my body is capable of and stuff. So my plan for this year is to gain weight by gaining muscle mass. So that's fun. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, asking, I don't know if you're a protein shake dragon yet. And then me coming in here with these like juggling, falling jars of protein powder. Yeah, I think I did become a protein powder person. Oops. Oops. That not happen on purpose. What else has been going on that's interesting lately? I learned the term ambiguity tolerance in one of my classes, which is which I thought was interesting because when you think of ambiguity, and maybe this is just because I'm autistic, but when I think of ambiguity, I think of uncertainty, and like in my mind, I think that I have a really low tolerance for ambiguity because it stresses me out a lot and I don't know if I'm doing the wrong thing and if I should be doing something else. But learning about it in this formal setting, ambiguity tolerance is more about differing perspectives. So like ambiguity in this context meaning just like things can be interpreted differently or people will bring different perspectives to things. So obviously as an autistic person who like has had many social situations go badly because of a misapprehension of social conventions, or having another autistic person inflict their misapprehension on me, which has happened before, I am actually very comfortable with the idea that there are differing perspectives. Like I did a little quiz thing that was asking a bunch of different situations. And so it actually turns out that I have a pretty high, not only a pretty high ambiguity tolerance, but a pretty high ability to navigate ambiguity in that way where it's like, how upset are you when someone perceives a situation differently than you? Or like, how much do you seek out varying perspectives? So that's been a fun little thing. I really kind of understand how college is viewed as this like liberal thing that breaks down conservative ideology immediately, because one of my classes is teaching major critical thinking skills and skills about how to check the sources and check the veracity of the sources or check the bias of the sources. So it's like stuff that I already know how to do, which is kind of part of what makes that class boring to me. But it's big on the like, think for yourself and gather differing perspectives and don't worry about it's basically teaching like how to have an honest approach, how to set aside your bias. You know, if you come across information that doesn't robustly support your point, you need to figure out how to incorporate that into your work by acknowledging that differing perspective, but still stating why your perspective is the right one and doing all of that honestly. So I'm like, okay, that is clearly like, that is one of the things. And this is my first term too. I guess I did a self-assessment for my writing and English class. So I'm in like a relatively advanced English class. So maybe this is not what most people would be doing at their first semester at college. But I'm like, yeah, wow. If the very first fucking class that I'm taking basically is teaching me how to evaluate information in a way, and like even directly called out conspiracy theorists, like directly called it out. Some of the reading was like, yeah, what a conspiracy theorist does is they they see information that confirms their belief and they adopt that information, but any information that contradicts their belief is just part of the conspiracy, quote unquote, which is a dishonest way of thinking. And that was very fun. But like I said, it's not really like new information for me. So I'm like, that's just a little bit more tedium of like implementing stuff that I already know how to do. But there's a really high value on it. I'm gonna like do everything that my teacher wants me to do, because here's another thing that I think that this is more a result of becoming a parent than it is a result of any other of my life experiences. But I've tried to instill in my kid that it's like, if I'm asking you to do something, there's a good reason for it. Or if I want you to learn something, there is a good reason for it. That I have life experience that tells me that this is valuable information for you to have. It's not for no reason. It's not because I just want you to. And so I think becoming a parent really is the thing that has altered my perspective. And like, anytime you go to college in your 30s or older, you're going because you really want to and not because it's just what's expected of you. So there is an element to it as well where I just want to make sure I'm extracting as much value from the experience as possible. But there's a huge amount of trust that I have in my teachers that they're not giving me anything extraneous, especially in a fucking summer term where we have to crash through it all in like 8 weeks. But I have a huge amount of trust and respect that, they are an expert and that they are giving me a precious gift, and that everything that they're giving me has a distinct and specific purpose. So, and then, in my other class, like the concept of ambiguity tolerance and like instilling that differing perspectives are important and an integral part of problem solving. In fact, like an integral part of, like a series of problem solving steps, whether that's creative problem solving or collaborative problem solving. I mean, collaborative problem solving is part of a creative problem solving, but yeah. So it's like 2 of the classes that I've taken have been, 2 of the 3 classes are like, yo, you need to value what other people think. And they both are like this. One of my classes, we're talking about this book by a Black woman with a Black woman main character about blackety blackness. Like that's what it's, I'm not going to spoil anything because it's a really interesting book and I think that people should read it. Like Forward by Janelle Monáe, blackety black, 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 in a good way. I'm saying that in a positive way. I like it, appreciate it. And then in one of my other classes, we, learning about like the creative process, we watched a video of the costume designer on the Black Panther movie, the first Black Panther, and her talking about how she gathered inspiration and information in order to create thousands. She made thousands of costumes for that movie. So that, again, like that's 2 of my teachers who are white, who are teaching me about Black people, or we're incorporating the perspectives of Black people. So it's like, this is my first term at college, and it's already like, if you were a person who was mad about Black people, you'd be so mad. If you were a person who believes in conspiracy theories, you would be so mad. Like, you would probably drop this class, which is so funny to me. Oh my God, I love these. A&W Zero Sugar Root Beers are so good. They're delicious. Fesh! Hello! I was just telling everybody earlier about the fact that there were like, apparently like 30,000 people at Trans Pride. I'm like, that park was much bigger than I realized. If there were 30,000 people there. Yeah, so that was crazy. Anyway, this didn't work for me as a kid because my parents were evangelical bigots, so I couldn't trust any of the things they were telling me because I couldn't sift the tons of bad from whatever good was in there. Yeah, that's true, right? Like, I definitely didn't have that perspective as a child. Like, I feel better about it now. Like, yeah, my mom made me do some things that I felt were pointless, but that would have benefited me and, like, did benefit me in some ways. But maybe it's just part of being an adult that, like I said, I became a parent. And then because of my trying to impart the importance of things onto someone else and being like, you know, I am not telling you anything that is extraneous or like, you know, I don't know, like I'm trying to give someone an entire childhood's worth of critical information in a very short amount of time and be like, you know, I need you to trust that I'm doing like that everything that I'm teaching you is important or applicable in some way or it will matter or it will come up again. And I did, like, yeah, Fesh says if you're telling me to do something, you have to explain why. And if I don't accept the reason why, I ain't going to do it. So maybe that's part of where the clash is, where, you know, if I'm like, I'm telling my kid, I'm like, hey, here's what I want you to do and here's why I want you to do it. Because I've tried to be, I'm like, if I help impart that the reason why is important or the reason why is a factor, then maybe that it will be easier for kiddo to accept that they should be doing whatever the thing is that I'm asking them to do. But maybe we're running into like kiddo just doesn't agree. Like, okay, here's a struggle. And I'm not trying to talk a lot of shit about somebody who's in the house and can probably hear me. But still to this day, I find dishes that are dirty in with my clean dishes, which is not to say that somebody put something that was dirty directly into with the clean stuff, but that they were cleaned, but not cleaned very well. And so there's like still food particulate on the dishes when they get put away. So it's like, are we just running into a difference of opinion on like whether it matters for there to not be food stuck to the dishes? Like, I don't know. I don't know where if that's just like a difference in perspective and opinion. But yeah, I do think it's important to explain why we're doing things. Yeah. Like, I just think if you're teaching, it's good to know why. And like, I'm asking questions as well. Like, I think it's important to ask why. You know, like I could just memorize like a formula or whatever, which is what I did when I was in high school. But now I actually care about understanding why. Like, okay, yeah, when if X is inside the parentheses and you add something to it, why is it that adding moves the line on the graph to the left instead of to the right, which feels intuitive? And then you have to like talk about the x-intercept on the graph. And now I'm like, okay, now I understand why we're doing it that way. I do have it memorized that it works the opposite way as what I think, but that wasn't good enough for me. I wanted to know why. And yeah, maybe that's just something that you get with age. I don't know. Handmade costumes are still so much better than CGI costumes. Yeah. Yeah, even when we're using technology to make the costumes, like in Black Panther, the Queen has that like white dress or like that cream colored dress with like this crazy big frill thing behind her, and that's 3D printed. So like, you know, it's cool that part of the dress is 3D printed. It means that there is a different kind of design that has to be done where you're designing in CAD or something as opposed to like with your sewing machine or what have you. But the fact that they made it and didn't just like CGI a bunch of shit, you know what I mean? Is there another No Kings protest later this year? There have been 2 already, right? Are we doing a 3rd one? Oh my god, is there some crazy big protest on the 4th of July that I have not heard about because I have not been on Facebook or Blue Sky or whatever? Because that feels like it would be the opportune time, like the 250th anniversary of the country's founding, and like everybody's really pissed off about everything. It seems like it would be the optimal moment, much like Trump's birthday, like an optimal moment for a protest, which does make me feel like even more determined to not go anywhere this weekend. We were thinking about going out somewhere on the day before the 4th, but I'm not sure if that's happening. But the Black Panther movies are so goated. I really dislike the actress who plays the little sister, so I haven't seen anything beyond the first movie. And I don't really care to. I'm okay with CGI costumes for the costumes doing things you can't do practically. Yeah, when the thing like comes down around and like away from the face or whatever. But the Marvel shit of we replaced the whole actor with a computer costume fucking sucks. Yeah, and I do think that Black Panther kind of suffered from that somewhat, but that's because Chadwick Boseman was like deep in cancer treatment and not telling anybody. So like there's the scene at the end where there's the big fight in the mines, and I did feel like that was poorly done and they just kind of slapped it together with CGI in some ways, but again, that's because the man was dying. So, yeah. Welcome back, Faulty Branches. Hello. We only have like about like a half an hour before we usually wrap up. I hate the magically disappearing helmets. When I'm president of Earth, I'm outlawing that. Sure, yeah. There's a joke about that in Invincible Season 4 that is very, very, very funny. Okay, so yes, apparently there is some kind of anti-Empire / anti-Trump protest on the 4th. Boy howdy, am I glad that I already intended to not fucking go anywhere this weekend. There's just certain times of the year that it's best to not leave your house one single time. And this weekend is one of them. Not just 4th of July, but the 250th anniversary. Yeah, no, thanks. I'm good. I have not decided, you guys, whether the Sunday streams are coming back. Because I'm consistently having to work on Saturdays now. Like, Wednesday is the day that we stream here, unless I have a production meeting. Like, I'm pretty consistently trying to stream on Wednesdays. But if I'm basically working, like, every day except Friday, which even then, sometimes I still do have to work on Fridays. Like, I have a Cuz I Wanna on Friday this week that I have to produce. So if I'm working basically 6 days a week and I'm 12 hours, like 12 credit hours of school, I just think it would not make a huge amount of sense for me to stream on Sundays. And also, like, not to be a dick about it or anything, but if I regularly have streams like this where I don't get one single donation during the whole stream, there is not like a huge incentive for me to continue doing this financially. So yeah, I mean, that's just like, sometimes I make $200 in one stream, but sometimes I make $0 in one stream. And yeah, it's just like not totally worth it sometimes. The Hunger Games dress was epic as fuck with added CGI flames in addition to practical effects. Yeah, that was fun. The Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern CGI suit was the greatest affront to film. True. Oh my gosh, you guys, that's another thing. We did watch Deadpool 2 because we hadn't seen it, and honestly, that's the most forgettable movie I think I've ever fucking watched. But Deadpool and Wolverine was such a good movie. It was such a good movie. We had so much fun, and we're certain, I haven't watched any of those breakdown videos, but I'm certain that there were many, many breakdown videos of all the Easter eggs and all the craziness. So, yeah, it was such a good movie. I'm sorry, I'm super unemployed and can no longer afford donos or I would be bankrolling. Yeah, no worries, it's okay. I usually have shit to do on Sundays and I get jealous when I miss the stream, so I approve of your taking off on Sundays. Yeah. It's like, and I still work on Sundays. I still have the After Dark show on Sundays, but it would just be like in the morning and the afternoon I can, you know, chill and hang out with my partner or do meal prep for the week or something. I wonder, I left YouTube running on your stream. How much does one person using premium get you? I have never tried to answer that question. I'm certain it's less than it would be if you gave me a $2 super chat. But I will see if that's information that I can gain access to. Oh my god, Matt Smith joins Brittany Broski's royal court? Ah! Okay. You know? That might be something I have to look at later. What the fuck am I doing? I'm looking at my creator studio. I got so distracted. I went to the YouTube homepage and saw something that I want to watch later. Oops. Thank you for streaming, by the way. If the streams ever stop, I will understand, but it's great to hang out and talk about whatever while we can. Yeah. Yeah, it is unfortunately like something that I'm in the process of winding down, if not completely phasing out. Like, you know, I mean, I'm trying to like, I'm in school to be an engineer. Like, obviously there's some intention to have a full engineering career at some point in the future. What am I doing? I'm looking at my analytics page and my revenue. I don't actually know if it distinguishes premium revenue from ad revenue, but let's see. What's my revenue like from the last month? Okay, in the month, in the last 28 days, I have made $32 from premium watch time, compared to ads where I've made $84 on watch time. And then between, like, obviously super chats are the largest amount of money at like almost $300 over the past 28 days. So, and then YouTube memberships, I've made $69. That just gives you a little snapshot into like what a channel like mine makes. And honestly, if I had been more regularly posting videos, which I need to get on top of, I'm thinking about trying to use like Asana or something, because I've been using Canvas for my classes and it's making it so easy for me to do my work, because I'm like, oh, this thing has a due date, and so I should work on that. Like, I'm going to get done with this and I have to work on something for my writing class but that is due today. Most of my other deadlines are pretty flexible, so that's one of the conveniences of being in college, is that they trust you to be an adult. And if you're doing an online class, then they're like, yeah, well, you're doing an online class for a reason probably, and you'll find the time to do it when you have time to do it. So like, you know, I was busy all day Friday last week driving to Seattle, but then this Friday I don't have as much to do. I mean, obviously, like, I'm going to go to the gym and then I have a 'cause I wanna in the afternoon, but I have a huge amount of time that day to work on my schoolwork. So I'm going to be able to catch up a little bit. So yeah, but I want to use something like Canvas, but that I can just construct my own deadlines and my own like tick each box off kind of thing. Like, regular task apps that I've used before don't work very well. So I'm going to try that out, because I have like so many clips that I've been sitting on, and I have this horrible tendency to like get a bunch of them like ready, but then I only fix the thumbnail for one of them. So then I only posted like one video a month for the last couple months, and it's a really bad habit that I need to get out of. I can't do any more Marvel. I'm spent after all the TV shows started coming out too. Yeah, I never started watching any of the TV shows, so that was fun. Watching Deadpool and Wolverine, they made a lot of references to stuff I have not seen. Like, I never watched Logan, and I never watched any of the Loki or anything else about the variants and the multiverse travel stuff. Like, yeah, so I was like, it's still a good movie without all that information. But dude, it was such a kick in the nuts for my childhood watching Deadpool and Wolverine, though, because they do so many X-Men references. Like, so many. And like Wolverine saying bub over and over again.
Faulty Branches has donated $50. It made me laugh pretty hard to be called girl. Always fun to hang out with everyone.
Thank you very much, Faulty, for the $50 donut. That's very, very, very generous of you. Thank you for rewarding my complaining. But yes, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And look, you know, that goes up number. Up number go up. Up number go up. Indeed. You still haven't properly seen the princess yet today. My thumbnail game is not great, but it lets me get the videos out pretty easy. I don't know why, but I hate making thumbnails. I just really hate it. And it's the absolute dead last thing that I want to do. I don't know why, but I need to create some kind of incentive to do it. So I just want Canvas, but for my self-assigned work. That's all I want. So I saw someone recommend Asana, and I'm going to try that. Monday is good for task planning and tracking. Monday, can I set deadlines? Because that's the main thing that I want to do. I want to set task deadlines, and like maybe even myopically be like, each individual thumbnail gets its own checkbox so that I can check them off individually and get the brain dopamine for each one. But anyway, say, like Wolverine saying bub was like, oh my God, I was a baby once upon a time. And it makes me want to go back and watch the original X-Men movies. I'm like, they were so fun. I remember them being so fun. I'm a shill, so I watch everything. Hey, you know, we'd appreciate it. Really glad I don't have top shelf vertigo. Okay, Monday is what it's called. Monday. Monday task manager. Hey, Monday.com. Okay, cool. I'll check that out. Is anyone using Monday as a personal task manager? Okay. Okay, cool. I'll check it out. Thank you. Do you have Twitch? I don't. I don't have Twitch. I've thought about it many times, but Twitch has like different rules about stuff, and I just don't want to learn them. Like, you know, there's like, I guess maybe some of those rules only apply to partners, but I remember them being like, oh, if you talk about politics, we're going to start restricting or recommending that content differently. And I also like to self-referentially use slurs, and I don't know if that's allowed on Twitch. But also, like, I think I would need to either buy or spend time setting up a program to dual stream. So this, if you're wondering about this is my website, chat, luxander.net. That's where this is over here. But yeah, I've thought about many times doing Twitch, or maybe about doing like small gaming streams on Twitch, and just appreciating that it's a completely different vibe, like a completely different environment, but I just haven't pulled the trigger. Maybe if streaming was something that was more just strictly for fun and not for my job, then, because it's also like I've been doing YouTube for a long time, and I already have the existing subscriber base and stuff over here. So part of it when I started first streaming was just like, oh, this makes more sense. But I don't know. We'll think about it. I'm so old that by the time the first X-Men movie came out, I already had nostalgic expectations for the movie that it didn't live up to. Halle Berry's voice just could not compete with Allison Seeley Smith from the 90s X-Men cartoon. Oh, sure, yeah, there was the cartoon.
Noah Darkly Yours has donated $5. This should take care of you for the rest of the month. Happy Pride Mass Hangover.
Thank you. Happy Pride Mass Hangover. Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh, it is the last day of Pride, isn't it? Oh no, it's July now. Okay, so it is the first day of Disability Pride Month. So, yeah, that's fun. Thank you so much for the generous $5 donation. I really appreciate that. I'm sorry, I'm just in the middle of, excuse me, trying to burp. Wow, that was a rough one. Now we're at 55. $45 more and I will torture Miss Mina by making her get on camera. Mina! Boy, howdy, I'm gonna need water later. There we go. Yeah, Gaming with Lux. I actually did make a gaming logo. I used to have a Let's Play channel called Lux Play. Haha, it was a play on like Let's Play, but Lux Play. Haha, isn't that great? I probably would do it different now, but I had a Let's Play channel, and I think all the videos are gone now because I decided to use that channel for something else, so I deleted all of it. But I was really proud of my thumbnail game back then. I made some really cool thumbnails. I played a game called A Story About My Uncle. I played Undertale. I played random little one-off games. I had a game called Cats Are Liquid that I have never actually finished. Yeah. So, and I recently got on my Twitch for the first time in a long time to give someone my Amazon sub. And I was like, oh yeah, I made a little icon using the outline of the Steam controller. So, that's cute. Yeah, happy Disability Pride Month, everybody. I'm not stepping on any toes when I say it's Wrath Month. Because if anybody is wrathful, it's the fucking disabled, okay? I was told not too long ago that I have dyslexia and ADHD. Are those close enough to a disability? Yes, hold on real quick. Disability pride flag. I was just reading about this earlier today. The disability flag, disability pride flag. Let me tell you what the colors mean. The colors mean. The colors mean. All right, welcome to Wikipedia. This is the disability pride flag. All right, check it out. It's described as a charcoal gray flag bisected diagonally from the top left corner to the lower right corner by 5 parallel stripes in red, pale gold, pale gray, light blue, and green. Here's what they mean. The charcoal gray background stands for mourning people who have died from ableist violence, abuse, suicide, and illness. So that's like the flag inherently acknowledges the people who have been left by the wayside and have passed away. The red stripe represents all physical or represents physical disabilities, basically like physically obvious disabilities. The gold stripe represents neurodiversity, which is like autism and stuff. The blue stripe is emotional and psychiatric disabilities. So that's like depression, schizophrenia, those kind of things. The green stripe is for sensory disabilities, which is like blind, deaf, auditory processing disorder, those kind of things. And then the white stripe refers to undiagnosed and invisible disabilities. So yeah, the disability pride flag is a lot more inclusive than you might think. And so the disability community is a lot more inclusive than you might think. So yay, we learned something on Pride, Disability Pride Month. Yeah. Ella says, I'm literally on SSDI for anxiety and autism. So yeah, it's like, even with the shitty country and its desire to not give people disability benefits, like you can still for things like anxiety. Yeah, exactly. Being disabled, there is much wrath. Precisely. You got me curious, so I started looking for free LMS learning management systems. Use that as a thing to look for if you want a Canvas-like experience. Okay, hold on. Let me... What did you say? Learning management systems. Okay. I was like, this isn't... I don't exactly need a learning management system, but if it enables me to, like, set tasks with deadlines, that is kind of what I need. I'm glad I'm personally represented by 5 out of 6 of the stripes. Not all 6, because that would make typing and watching streams a little tricky. Wait, by 6, do you mean the dead one? Yeah, okay, by 6 you mean the dead one. Oh, boy. Oh, my gosh. Okay, well, that is funny. We always hear about disability, but never dat-ability. True. That's true. That's the lingo description of what Canvas is, a learning management system. Okay, I've got the tab open, so I'll look into it a little bit. Like, I pulled up Asana yesterday, and then I didn't really get far into it. So here's the thing. I'm running into the thing that writers do. I hear about this, where it's like, nobody's toilet is as clean as a professional writer's toilet because they like procrastinate their they procrastinate writing by cleaning. Like that cleaning feels more accessible, like a thing that is notoriously difficult for people to make themselves do, cleaning a toilet, that it's just like they're avoiding writing, so they clean. So I'm running into that a little bit because I'm certain that I was Googling this and pulling up Asana while I was trying to focus on homework. And I just got distracted and was like, oh my God, I haven't even uploaded a video this week. I need to like figure out how to, because I'm really enjoying Canvas, and Canvas is making it so much easier for me to accomplish tasks. And I just go to the modules page and then I just go one, like one after the other. And I'm getting little hits of dopamine. And then I take the little quiz and it's only 3 questions, but I get 3 out of 3 and it's 100%. And it's like, boom, dopamine. So, yeah, I'm running into that a little bit where I'm like, no. I need to focus and finish what I'm doing, and then I will Google whatever random question just popped up in my head. Oh my gosh. I helped my disabled trans partner bring wrath upon their scummy landlord. Yay, tenant rights. Fuck yeah. Oh my God, what did I just kick? Oh, yep, that's my giant jars of protein powder that I brought in here and forgot. It's the only flag you can't be all of them until you're deceased. True. Wait, where were you not? Whoa, hi baby, how you doing? She just came tearing in here. What are you doing? Mini Mina. Oh, I see. Okay. Tell me about it. What are you doing? You okay? She's feeling excited. I think it's like the really loud construction and stuff outside has been bothering her. Oh, is it also because I didn't feed you wet food and now you're going to be a terrorist? Where'd you go, terrorist? What are you doing? She's just going to be a little bit of a menace for a while. Mina the Menace. No. No one has a more clean bong than the artist that doesn't draw, truly. Oh, yeah? You meowing? Oh, you just pooped. I see. Okay, I can smell it now. Apparently, something about the cat's digestive tract, in particular, like the pooping area, is like right next to their vagus nerve. So that's why, if you're ever wondering, like, why does my cat absolutely freak out after they've been to the toilet? It's because it stimulates their vagus nerve when they poop. So, you know, that's a fun little fact for you. Yeah, you did a big poop, huh? You did a stinky poop? Oh my god, I want to show you guys this thing because we're getting toward the end of the stream and I want to show you this because it's fucking cool. Okay. My friend Lee is a wand maker. And I had commissioned this wand, which he decided to give to me as a gift. Like an asshole wouldn't let me pay him. I kind of sort of commissioned this before we moved away from Kansas, and then Lee got really sick and was unable to finish it at the time. And then we've just been having a little like lack of coordination with getting me my wand. But I have a wand. And it's just cute. It's just kooky. It's just because I wanted one. But it's really fucking cool, you guys. Okay? This style of wand that he makes is called the bone finger wand, I think. So you can see it's got like these segments that are kind of reminiscent of bones. And then the tip is like a fingertip, a fingernail. We did discuss making mine like more like an animal claw, but I think he forgot about that. But it's okay. I'm not too upset about it. I was kind of liking the idea of having an animal claw, but the main difference between this and any of the other bone finger wands that he's made is that usually he puts some kind of like human skull on the finial. But I was like, I think that human skulls are a little bit tacky or gaudy or quiche or kish or something. I don't know. But this is, I think that this is just a resin, like a plastic, but it's supposed to be like a rat skull. Is this bamboo? I don't think so. I didn't ask. I should ask, but I don't think he works with bamboo. Although I don't know. But yeah, I'll have to ask. I don't think so, but maybe. It is really lightweight, but yeah, it's really cool. The best thing about it is that it's a really good fidget. And the other thing that's really fun about it is that you can kind of like, it's kind of like owning a sword, I think, in that way where you can like pretend to threaten someone with it. And it makes you feel like a little bit spooky and powerful. But yeah, check this bitch out. It's a little bit longer, I think, than I would prefer a wand. He also gifted my partner a much less personalized wand, but still gifted my partner a wand, and his is shorter, and I kind of like that it's shorter. But the bone joints look a lot like bamboo segments. Yeah, do you mean with like this, Oh, no, the whole thing has been carved. Like, this whole thing has been put on a lathe. So I don't think that this is like bamboo segments. Like, it's not hollow. It's not hollow bamboo. I think this is like a scrap piece of wood. But yeah, I don't even know if he'll remember what wood he made this out of, because I'm pretty sure he did make it. He made most of it around the time that we had moved, or before we had moved. Yeah, it's so neat. It's so cute. It's so pretty. And at first, I did want to find like when I was first pitching this to him, I was like suggesting a real skull, because at the time I had just bought my jawbone earrings, so I was thinking about a real skull, and I was a little bit bummed out that he put a resin one on there. But then I was thinking about, like finials in general, like finials on swords and stuff. Like Jon Snow's sword in Game of Thrones has a wolf finial, but it's like a carved piece of stone with rubies inset for the eyes. So even it's like, yeah, it's actually fairly normal for a finial to be like a crafted representation of the thing. So I'm a little bit less annoyed now that it's like, that's, the parts are painted black to make them look hollow, but it's just a solid piece of plastic. So anyway, very cool. I have a wand that is smoke tree wood, a staff that is traditional ash, and an athame that is iron. I made them all myself, so they aren't that pretty. Yeah, that's kind of the vibe, though, Noah. This was the kind of intention for this was, oh, you're the one who called about tarot. Ah, I see. So, but this was kind of, I was like, I want a wand for the purpose of, like, doing whatever rituals I can trick myself into getting some mileage out of, in terms of, like, putting it on my altar space. And dude, you know what, I don't think I've ever told Jimmy that I have an altar space. I wonder how he would respond to that. It's probably more durable than if it was an actual rat skull, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. It being plastic, it's more durable. And yeah, gotta go get my blood taken for my HRT. Y'all have a good night. Yes, I think kitsch is pronounced like witch. Kitsch. Okay, maybe Jimmy wasn't having the tarot talk. Yeah. And honestly, he did kind of convince me. Like, I hadn't really considered prior to purchasing my tarot decks that I was paying into a multi-million-dollar industry that is scamming people. So that part, I texted him afterwards and I was like, you know what? I didn't think about that before, but I don't have to make the problem worse now. So I'm not going to buy more tarot. Like, I mean, not that I was going to buy more tarot cards anyway, because I have 2 decks. And I don't really feel like I need to collect tarot decks. I have 1 tarot deck that likes me, and 1 tarot deck that's a bitch every single time. Why are you so rude to me every single time? This one is so mean to me every single time. Awful. But anyway, I was like, yeah, no, you changed my mind. I feel like it's important to tell people, especially your friends. We had this like big public disagreement. Not big, it's not like a big deal, but we had this public disagreement, and I was pushing back. Like, I was siding with a caller, effectively. And yeah, it's like, you did make me think about this differently. I did not consider the broader patterns of abuse in this spooky community, right? I just like it aesthetically. It's just fun for me. But for me, having fun, like, I don't need to, like, pay into this industry, But at the same time, also, I feel like the worst thing I do, and I do it damn near every day right now, is drive my car. I do truly think that driving my car is the worst thing that I do anytime I do it. I think driving my car is much worse than buying a tarot deck for $20. But I don't need to knowingly do harm when I could avoid it. So I'm like, all right, I won't buy any more tarot decks. That makes sense. Ooh, yes, that's a great point. Faulty says the industry around tarot and everything is why I bought my spouse a tarot deck which had been made by an artist that was making custom sets instead of buying a commercial print. Yes. And even like, excuse me, I think that this one was designed by an independent queer artist, but it is clearly being made at some kind of commercial scale. I mean, I didn't buy this one. Silent bought it for me. This was my first tarot deck, so Silent bought it for me. But, yeah. So it's like I did, in some ways I did support an independent artist, but I don't know Like, clearly there was some company that printed all the cards that made money. I feel like Jimmy's argument can be turned around and pointed at his use of AI and paying into a system that is actively destroying the actual world and causing much more direct harm than tarot. His answer to that argument would be our business would not be successful, and that is different. And like the need to make money and the need now that he has, like 20 plus people who are making money, like that he employed a bunch of his friends, his argument would be that in order to not fuck over almost 30 people who work for him, he has to keep using AI in order to be competitive, in order to continue putting out the volume of work that we do. Whereas this is strictly for fun. I do see where you're coming from on that, but I'm just saying I can already feel what his response would be. Just like I say, driving my car is the worst thing I think I do. Like, I think it's the worst objective thing that I do. It harms the most people. It contributes to global climate change. But I do not have time to take the fucking bus. I do not have time to walk everywhere. I have a bicycle, but I'm not at a level of physical fitness where I could do it. And even then, it would still take double the time for me to get anywhere. And I physically do not have the time right now that I'm a student. So, like, you could say, and because, our society is not designed around walkable cities and everything. So it's like, for a lot of people, you kind of have no choice because your housing is nowhere near where your job is and all that. So, similarly, I could say that driving my car is the worst thing that I do, but also that it's something that is done by necessity to an extent. Whereas, like, yes, strictly, I just think tarot is fun. I just think it's fun. I just like it. And I like not taking it seriously. And if people do take it seriously, I get freaked out by that, and I don't really want to talk to those people. So, rant about gradients in the way people demand perfect rules that apply no matter the level something is occurring at. So I feel like that would have maybe been him hedging a little bit, that like if he can't take a hard line, it is never ethical to use or purchase tarot cards. And that's like falling into this moral purity thing. But he's been very sick. He just found out that he actually is injured from his car accident in a way that is going to take longer to heal than he thought originally. I don't want to get into huge details because it's not my business to tell, but so he's just been struggling physically a lot more than is apparent. He pushes himself through it because he's had chronic illness for so long that he's kind of used to having to push through it, but he's really not. I would say he needs to take more of a break. And I think actually next week he is taking a break. We were like doing the schedule and he's like, it has occurred to me that I should maybe take consecutive days off. And I was like, yes. Like me telling my boss, like, you need to take some time off. You are doing too much. So I think next week he at least, I don't know if his girlfriend is taking time off, but I know he at least is taking a few days off. And I'm like, good, you need to, you should. So that's funny. Yeah, you could make your own tarot deck or do what Faulty did and get a custom tarot deck from an artist, but I don't find that fun. I don't find making 78 cards particularly fun. It's much more fun to use them. But I could spend like 3 times as much money and get a custom made deck. Even then, you could make an argument that you've inspired someone else to buy a commercially made tarot deck. Maybe, yeah. Oh, did he post about his injuries? Yeah. Like the doctor at the ER said that his sternum was fine, but then he just got a scan and found out that he actually does have like a problem. What will happen when his vibe code app shits the bed and nobody knows how to fix it because it's Claude Spaghetti and the whole thing shits the bed? Yeah, I don't know. So far, we haven't had any major issues with the website, and I'm still like, once a week or so at least, I'm like, hey, here's a thing that you could change, or like, here's something that's not quite working the way that you wanted it to work on the website. But he is also actively having conversations with Paulogia, who is a software guy, or like does write code or whatever. I don't know what the fuck Paul does actually. So I don't know, like maybe there is some amount of like consulting with someone will prevent the code from being absolute spaghetti. I don't know. But we'll find out. Maybe the whole website will crash. Well, you guys, it's 5 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Anyway, and I'm gonna go and chill and go give my partner a hug and work on fucking homework. And then we're gonna clean the living room and it's gonna be a pleasant evening, I hope. I'm gonna... Wait, is Jimmy coding with AI? That's a bad idea. Yeah, no. Basically, like, we have an entire staff portal now, and he's using AI to make it, and it fucking works, like, for the most part. There's little things here and there that don't quite work exactly how, I don't know. Regardless, yeah, so anyway, I understand that it's not a great idea, and I'm not entirely defending him. I'm just saying I understand what he would say in the situation. But anyway, yes, we are going to get out of here. I love you all very much. I hope that you stay good. I am not planning to see you on Sunday, even though that is Arden's first day back producing. I'm planning to see you next week on Wednesday, and then I'll kind of determine going forward if I'm going to still be doing Sundays, or maybe I'll do some Sundays, but not others. It's also going to kind of depend on like whether I'm able to get this school stuff. Viren made it sound like 12 hours of credit is way harder during the summer than it is during the fall. So we will find out how much I want to kill myself. Anyway. All right, later.